Chapter 91 Making Preparations. Chu Jiang and Xiaoying quickly made preparations. At the same time, the Krieg technical team began to make a small traversal device, hoping to help them successfully enter the cracked space. The soldiers crowded around the crack, and everyone's face was filled with nervousness. The scientist called Chu Jiang and Xiaoying aside. "I need to tell you something about that crack." Chu Jiang asked nervously, "What 173 was found?" The scientist's face was complicated. "Through our detector, we found that the speed of time flowing at the other end of the crack is different from that on our side, and may be much faster than ours." Xiaoying's eyes narrowed. "That means?" Chu Jiang continued, "Every second we spend there may be equivalent to hours or even days here. #. The scientist nodded. "This also means that if you stay there for too long, it may be several years before you come back." Xiaoying and Chu Jiang looked at each other and saw the determination in each other's eyes. Chu Jiang took a deep breath. "Although time is precious, it is nothing compared to the safety of the Krieg people. We must go and find out the truth about the rift." The scientist sighed. "Then please be careful, I will try my best to provide you with support." Chu Jiang and Xiaoying waved to all the soldiers and then stepped into the crossing device. A light blue circle of light surrounded them, and the whole world seemed to blur in an instant. Then, they disappeared. The place they arrived was a huge plain with a towering mountain range in the distance and a dense forest at the foot of the mountain. There is a strange smell in the air. The sky here is purple, and the stars are shining with light that is different from their world. Xiaoying looked around. This is really another world. Chu Jiang took a deep breath. "We must act as soon as possible to find the life form here and understand the source of the crack." The two began to explore this unknown land. They found that the creatures here were very different from their world, including huge flying creatures and some strange plants. Just as they were going deep into the forest, suddenly, a voice broke the silence. Who is there?" Chu Jiang and Xiaoying turned around and saw a slender woman wearing a purple robe walking out from behind the tree, her eyes showing warning. Chu Jiang immediately stepped forward. "Hello, we are from another world and hope to communicate with you." The woman looked at him doubtfully. "Another world? You mean, from the rift?" Xiaoying nodded. "That's right. We hope to understand the cause of the rift and the creatures here." The woman was silent for a moment, and then said, "Follow me." She led the two of them to a huge stone platform, which was covered with words and patterns. "This is our history. The rift is caused by the energy imbalance between the two worlds. If it is not closed, both worlds will be affected," the woman explained. Chu Jiang's eyes flashed with determination. "Then we must cooperate and find a way to close the rift." The woman nodded. "But time waits for no one. Time passes faster in your world, and we must hurry up." The three began to study the words and patterns, trying to find a way. But suddenly, a black shadow fell from the sky and rushed towards them. Chapter 92 Battle Preparation. Chu Jiang and Xiaoying quickly prepared for battle, but the shadow was so fast that they almost had no time to react. Until the black shadow was only a few meters away from them, it suddenly stopped, and a creature wearing a similar mask walked out of the black shadow, its eyes emitting blue light. "Warning! Don't get close to the stone platform." The creature's voice was like the sound of electricity passing through metal. Chu Jiang asked nervously, "Who are you? Why did you stop us?" The masked creature replied, "I am the guardian of this land. That stone platform records not only what you know, but also contains a huge crisis." The woman asked doubtfully, "Crisis? But that stone platform only records the reasons for the rift between our two worlds." The masked creature sighed. "You don't understand that there is a kind of energy hidden in it. Once this energy is touched, it will cause disaster." Chu Jiang frowned. "Our goal is just to find a way to close the crack without touching anything dangerous." The masked creature glanced at Chu Jiang. "Okay, but you must abide by one condition, and that is to do it under my supervision." Xiaoying quickly asked, "Do you really know how to seal the rift?" The masked creature was silent for a moment. "I know some methods, but they are not complete. We need to cooperate." Chu Jiang nodded. "Then please tell us." The four of them sat around the stone platform and began to study the words and patterns in depth. The masked creature pointed out several key patterns and explained, "These are the activation procedures for rift closure, but there must be a sufficient energy source to activate them." Xiaoying thought for a while. Our time travel device has a large amount of energy reserve, enough to start this program. Chu Jiang added, but we only have one chance, so we have to make sure everything is correct. Time passed slowly in a tense atmosphere. They studied for several hours and finally locked in a feasible plan. But just as they were preparing to take action, a huge roar suddenly sounded in the distance, shaking the entire plane. Chu Jiang looked at the masked creature nervously. What is that? The expression of the masked creature became solemn. This is a sign that the crack is widening. We have no time, we must act immediately. The woman said tremblingly, if the crack widens, the whole world will fall into destruction. Chu Jiang patted Xiaoying on the shoulder. We must activate the traversing device as soon as possible to provide energy. Xiaoying nodded, quickly took out a small controller, and pressed the button. Light blue light emitted from the controller, echoing the pattern on the stone platform to create a huge aperture. The masked creature took a deep breath. Now. The four people worked together to start the closure process. The aperture is getting bigger and bigger, attracting each other with the cracks in the distance, and the light is getting brighter and brighter. But at the most critical moment, a sharp alarm suddenly came from under the stone platform. Chu Jiang asked nervously, what's the problem? The face of the masked creature changed drastically. There are other creatures trying to interfere with us, we must prevent them from getting close. The four people immediately turned around and saw dozens of creatures of various shapes coming from all directions. Their purpose was very clear, which was to destroy the stone platform. Xiaoying sighed, it seems this will not be an easy battle. Chu Jiang clenched his weapon, for our world and the future, we must win. The masked creature nodded, I will do my best to help you. Chapter 93 Siren. Along with the sirens, the creatures of various shapes let out deep roars and rushed towards the stone platform at an alarming speed. The skin on their bodies shines with a metallic luster, indicating that their physical strength may be far beyond the norm. Xiaoying quickly activated the energy shield on his body and spread out a circle of blue light to protect the surroundings of the stone platform. Chu Jiang picked up his laser weapon and prepared for the coming conflict. 0. You concentrate on protecting the stone platform, I will stop them. The masked creature shouted, and his arms became as hard as steel, emitting a dark blue light. Chu Jiang said nervously, pay attention to safety. The battle started quickly, and the speed and strength of the masked creature exceeded Chu Jiang and Xiaoying's expectations. Like a whirlwind, he kept repelling the creatures rushing towards the stone platform. Every attack was accompanied by the crackling sound of electricity. Xiaoying used her shield technology to constantly adjust the energy flow and block waves of attacks. Chu Jiang, on the other hand, relied on laser weapons to shoot enemies who tried to bypass the masked creatures. But the disparity in numbers is putting pressure on them. Dozens of creatures faced off against the three of them. Although they fought surprisingly bravely, their numerical disadvantage made Shirtai's defense gradually in danger. Just when they were feeling desperate, the woman in purple robe suddenly clasped her hands together and a strange light emitted from her eyes. Then, pillars of light rose up from around the stone platform. These light pillars are connected with Xiaoying's energy shield, forming a larger defensive circle. The rushing creatures seemed to be frightened by the sudden light beam. They wandered around the light beam and no longer acted rashly. Chu Jiang breathed a sigh of relief. What kind of technology is this? The woman smiled slightly. This is the protection technology of our world, it just takes some time to become automatic. Just when the four of them relaxed a little, those creatures began to gather together to form a huge biological ball. The sphere began to rotate faster and faster, accompanied by a thunderous roar. The masked creature warned, be careful, they are going to collide with our protective barrier collectively. At the moment when the biological ball was about to hit the protective barrier, a huge shadow fell from the sky, blocking the way of the biological ball. It was a huge aircraft, its appearance was somewhat similar to a flying saucer, and a beam of light was opened below, sucking those creatures in. The aircraft's hatch slowly opened, and a humanoid robot walked out. It saluted Chu Jiang and the others. The rescue team has arrived and the situation is under control. Chu Jiang looked at the robot in surprise. Are you? The robot replied, we are the technological force of the Krieg tribe and have received your distress signal. The masked creature sighed, what a timely help. Chu Jiang sighed, I didn't expect that there are such high technological levels on both sides of the rift. Xiaoying looked at the stone platform and took a deep breath, time is running out, we must seal the rift. Just when everyone was focused on the stone platform, hello, hello, the huge aircraft suddenly sounded a rapid siren, and then, a huge creature jumped out from the hatch of the aircraft, with cold eyes flashing in its eyes. The light pays attention to Chu Jiang and the others. Chu Jiang and Xiaoying stared at the huge creature nervously. It has a tall body, thick limbs, and its body shines with a metallic light, which is obviously different from the previous creatures. The most eye-catching thing is that there is a control panel-like structure on its chest, with red lights constantly flashing. Chapter 94 is very vigilant. The masked creature suddenly became very vigilant. This is the Guardian of the Rift, a mechanical creature made of ancient technology, very dangerous. The robot immediately entered a fighting posture. Please stand behind me, and I will fight against it. Chu Jiang asked hurriedly, what should we do now? The woman took a deep breath. We must continue to complete the ritual of sealing the rift, and I will help you. Facing the strong pressure from the Rift Guardian, the robot launched an attack, while Chu Jiang, Xiaoying, and the woman continued to surround the stone platform and intensify their research on the closing procedure. The masked creature is always vigilant about its surroundings to ensure that there are no other threats. The Crack Guardian was obviously not an easy opponent to deal with. 893. It launched a fierce battle with the robot. Every impact caused a huge vibration, as if the sky was falling. Xiaoying said anxiously, our energy reserves are running low and we must complete it as soon as possible. Chu Jiang nodded, I know, I will do it as soon as possible. Time seemed to slow down extremely slowly at this moment, and everything around him seemed to be frozen in a certain moment. Suddenly, the masked creature shouted, there are more creatures approaching, I will intercept them, you must complete the task. The woman gritted her teeth, I can help provide energy, but I need Chu Jiang's help. Chu Jiang glanced at the group of creatures, getting closer and closer, and said firmly, tell me, what do you need me to do? The woman pointed to a certain part of the stone platform, put your hands here and sing with me. The two began to chant in unison, while Xiaoying controlled the flow of energy to ensure the stability of the energy. As the chanting progressed, the patterns on the stone platform began to shine with dazzling light, and the cracks gradually stabilized. At this critical moment, the Rift Guardian suddenly broke away from the battle and rushed towards the stone platform, obviously trying to stop them. Chu Jiang shouted nervously, quick! The woman and Xiaoying shouted in unison, and huge energy surged out of them, blending perfectly with the patterns on the stone platform. The moment the Rift Guardian rushed in front of them, a huge light pillar rose into the sky, and the rift gradually narrowed, and finally closed completely. The Rift Guardian disappeared in the beam of light, and the robot and masked creature also came over. The woman was so tired that she could hardly hold on. We succeeded. Chu Jiang breathed a sigh of relief, thanks to you. The robot nodded slightly, the matter is not over yet. Although the rift is closed, the balance of the land has been broken. We must find a way to restore it. The masked creature looked into the distance, moreover, the Rift Guardian just disappeared. It was not really destroyed and it will come back. Chu Jiang clenched his fists, then we will wait for it. Although the rift has been closed, the problems faced by Chu Jiang and the others are far from resolved. The land's energy imbalance has caused ecosystem upheaval. Xiaoying investigated the surrounding environment. From the data, the energy distribution of this land is seriously uneven. If no adjustments are made, it may lead to a greater disaster. The masked creature nodded, although the rift was opened artificially, the energy imbalance behind it is indeed an old problem in our land. Chu Jiang frowned, is there any way to restore the balance of the land? The robot replied, my clan owns a device called an energy mediator, which can adjust the energy distribution of the land, but it requires a large energy source. The masked creature looked at the woman, can our stone platform provide energy for the energy mediator? The woman thought for a while, theoretically it's possible, but I need to cooperate with Chu Jiang. Chu Jiang nodded immediately, I will fully cooperate. Chapter 95 has been closed. Although the rift has been closed, the problems faced by Chu Jiang and the others are far from resolved. The land's energy imbalance has caused ecosystem upheaval. Xiaoying investigated the surrounding environment. From the data, the energy distribution of this land is seriously uneven. If no adjustments are made, it may lead to a greater disaster. The masked creature nodded, although the rift was opened artificially, the energy imbalance behind it is indeed an old problem in our land. Chu Jiang frowned, is there any way to restore the balance of the land? The robot replied, my clan owns a device called an energy mediator, which can adjust the energy distribution of the land, but it requires a large energy source. The masked creature looked at the woman, can our stone platform provide energy for the energy mediator? The woman thought deeply for a while, theoretically it's possible, but I need to cooperate with Chu Jiang. Chu Jiang nodded immediately, I will fully cooperate. Xiaoying quickly retrieved the data, found it. The design drawings and manufacturing materials of the energy harmonizer are in our database. Chu Jiang clenched his fists and said excitedly, let's do it, we don't have time to waste. Several people took action immediately. Xiaoying provided technical support, Chu Jiang and the woman jointly controlled the stone platform to provide energy, and the robot was responsible for protection while the masked creature collected the required materials. Soon, the energy mediator began to take shape. It is a large disk with a huge transparent sphere in the center. The sphere is filled with liquid blue material and seems to contain endless energy. Chu Jiang asked, how to use this device? Xiaoying explained, first, we need to find the place where the energy is most unevenly distributed, then place the energy mediator there, start it, and it will automatically absorb excess energy and release it to the place where the energy is insufficient. Chu Jiang nodded, okay, let's do it like this. Under Xiaoying's guidance, they found the place where the energy distribution was most uneven, a huge crack, and the surrounding plants were withered. The ground was glowing with red light. The energy imbalance here is very serious, the masked creature said. Chu Jiang and the woman placed the energy mediator next to the crack and then activated it. The energy mediator began to emit a faint blue light, and the surrounding environment began to gradually change. The withered plants came to life again, and the red light disappeared. It seems to be working well. Chu Jiang breathed a sigh of relief. But at this moment, a huge roar suddenly came from the distance, and the Rift Guardian rushed over with a group of mechanical creatures. It's back, the masked creature warned. Asking for flowers. The robot quickly entered combat mode, we must guard the energy mediator. Chu Jiang clenched his fists, we must not let it destroy our efforts. Facing the powerful Rift Guardians and mechanical creatures, Chu Jiang and the others prepared for a fierce battle. But at the most critical moment, the energy mediator suddenly emitted a strong blue light, and both the Rift Guardian and the mechanical creature stopped, as if they were affected by something. Chu Jiang looked at all this in surprise, what's going on? Xiaoying analyzed, 11 The blue light emitted by the energy mediator seemed to have an inhibitory effect on them. The masked creature nodded, this is our opportunity, we must destroy them now. 27. Chu Jiang looked at the Rift Guardian nervously, knowing in his heart that this might be their only chance. But when they were preparing to take action, the Rift Guardian suddenly stretched out a huge tentacle from the ground and attacked directly towards the energy harmonizer. Be careful. Chu Jiang shouted. At this moment, the blue object on the energy mediator. The mass seemed to feel the crisis, and it began to rotate rapidly, emitting an even stronger blue light. The Rift Guardian's tentacles were knocked back by the powerful energy. Now. Chu Jiang shouted. Chapter 96 Immediate Counterattack. They immediately launched a counterattack, and the robots and masked creatures launched powerful attacks, defeating the mechanical creatures one by one. The Guardian of the Crack is also becoming weaker and weaker under the powerful energy of the energy reconciliator. In the end, Chu Jiang and the woman joined forces to completely eliminate the Rift Guardian. We won. Chu Jiang gasped. The masked creature nodded, but we can't take it lightly. There may be more enemies waiting for us. Chu Jiang clenched his fists, we will be ready. They stood by the crack again, looking at the blue light emitted by the energy mediator, and their hearts were filled with determination. But at this moment, a huge beam of light suddenly came from the sky far away from 113. It shined directly at the energy harmonizer, and the whole world seemed to be shocked. Chu Jiang and the others looked at all this in shock, their hearts filled with doubts and uneasiness. What is this? The masked creature frowned, the energy of this beam far exceeds anything we know. The woman said nervously, it directly locked the energy mediator, and we must respond immediately. Chu Jiang looked at Xiaoying, can you analyze the source of this beam? Xiaoying quickly analyzed the data. The data shows that this beam comes from space, an unknown area that we have not yet detected. The robot warned, no matter what this beam is, our most important task now is to protect the energy mediator. Chu Jiang nodded, we need to find a shelter. The masked creature thought for a moment, and then said, I know a place where the energy harmonizer should be protected from the influence of this beam. Chu Jiang quickly asked, what are you waiting for? Quickly lead the way. Following the lead of the masked creature, they quickly moved to an abandoned underground bunker. This bunker was obviously built a long time ago. Although it is a bit old, it has a strong structure and seems to be able to withstand powerful external attacks. They quickly placed the energy mediator in the bunker to ensure its safety. The environment inside the bunker seemed a bit depressing, with the cold metal walls covered in dust. Chu Jiang looked at the masked creature. When was this bunker built? Why is it here? The masked creature was silent for a moment, and then said, a long time ago, our ancestors foresaw that a big disaster might come, so they built such bunkers everywhere. But as time went by, many bunkers were forgotten. Chu Jiang nodded slightly, then looked at the woman with concern, are you okay? The woman smiled slightly, I'm fine, I'm just a little worried about whether the energy mediator can operate stably here. Xiaoying analyzed, judging from the current data, the environment inside the bunker does not affect the operation of the energy mediator. But I am more concerned about the purpose of that beam. Chu Jiang frowned, we can only wait now, waiting for the light beam to disappear. Time passed slowly in the tense atmosphere, and Chu Jiang and the others waited in the bunker for several hours. Finally, Xiaoying reported, the beam has disappeared. Chu Jiang breathed a long sigh of relief, we can go out. They carefully opened the bunker's door and stepped out. The sky outside has returned to normal, but a huge black mark has been left on the ground, showing where the beam once illuminated. The masked creature frowned, it seems that the power of that beam is really powerful. Chu Jiang decided, we must find out the source of the beam and understand its purpose. Xiaoying analyzed, I can try to trace the source of the beam, but it will take time. Chu Jiang nodded, we will give you time, but it must be fast. A few days later, Xiaoying finally got the result. The source of the beam is a huge spacecraft far away in space. Judging from its structure and energy distribution, it is not technology on the Earth. Chu Jiang was shocked, alien. Xiaoying replied, I'm not sure, but this is the most reasonable explanation at the moment. Chu Jiang took a deep breath, we must go to that spacecraft and understand its true purpose. The masked creature warns, this is very dangerous and we don't know their true intentions. Chu Jiang said firmly, this is our only chance to understand all this. After some preparations, Chu Jiang and the others decided to board the huge spacecraft to explore its true purpose. They drove the spacecraft provided by the robot and quickly approached the huge unknown spacecraft. When they approached the spacecraft, suddenly, a beam of blue light shot out, shining directly on their 2.9 spacecraft. Chu Jiang and their spaceship were restrained and unable to move, and their hearts were filled with unknown fear. What kind of technology is this? The spacecraft was slowly drawn into the interior of the huge spacecraft. They saw a wide hangar surrounded by various different spacecrafts. Obviously this spacecraft collected many spaceships on Earth. The masked creature whispered, it seems that they have been studying Earth technology for a long time. Chu Jiang clenched his fists, we must find the control center of the spacecraft and understand their true purpose. Just then, a voice sounded, welcome to our spaceship. Chapter 97 Inside the Unknown Spaceship. Chu Jiang and his companions stood nervously in the unknown spacecraft, surrounded by a scene of future technology. From the smooth metal walls to the holographic screens floating around, everything seemed so advanced and strange. They can feel that every inch of space here is filled with highly integrated technology. As the voice fell, a soft light condensed in front of them, and gradually, the image of a creature appeared. It has transparent skin, with complex textures flowing on its surface, like a living circuit, and its eyes exude the light of wisdom. I am the messenger of planet Zak, Noah. You can call me Noah. The creature said in almost perfect Mandarin, with a voice that was both mechanical and calm, and also had the warmth of life. Chu Jiang calmed down the shock in his heart and asked, why did you bring us here? Noah smiled slightly. If interpreted according to human expressions, it was a friendly smile. Chu Jiang, we have heard of your name for a long time. Your wisdom, courage and deep understanding of technology have made you a legend. We at Zax are currently facing a huge challenge, and we need talents like you come help us. The masked creature looked at Noah warily. He could feel the powerful flow of energy in this creature, which made him shudder. He asked aloud, "What exactly do you need Chu Jiang to do?" Noah turned to the masked creature and explained, "Our planet is threatened by an energy crisis. Our technology is very advanced in some aspects, but it also has flaws." Chu Jiang demonstrated on the development and application of the energy harmonizer. The talent he has brought out is exactly what we urgently need. Chu Jiang clenched his fists, and he felt a kind of sincerity from Noah's words. He knew that this might be a challenge that he could not imagine, but in his heart, the desire to explore the unknown was burning. "I'm willing to help, but I need to know more about you and how I can help you," Chu Jiang said firmly. Noah nodded, and then touched a console next to him. An image of planet Zack was immediately displayed on the screen, which was a beautiful planet surrounded by various halos. Noah began to explain in detail the energy system of Zack Star and the crisis they faced. It turns out that the energy supply of Zack Star has always relied on a stable energy source called clonergy, but this energy is now gradually drying up. The Zackians have tried to find an alternative, but have been unsuccessful. Chu Jiang's energy mediator theory may be the key to solving this crisis. After listening to Noah's explanation, Chu Jiang thought for a while, and then said, "I need to discuss it with my partners." Noah nodded understandingly. "Of course, this is a major decision." Chu Jiang and his team stepped aside and began discussing in low voices. The masked creature looked at Chu Jiang. "This is very dangerous, we know very little about them." The woman shook hands nervously, "But this is also an opportunity to understand the broader universe." Chu Jiang took a deep breath. "I know this is very risky, but I think I should go. This is not only for them, but also for the future of all of us. Learning alien technology may help the Earth solve many problems." Finally, after a heated discussion, Chu Jiang decided to accept Noah's request. He turned to Noah with a firm gaze. "I will go to Zack Star with you. I want to do my best to help." A broad smile appeared on Noah's face, a kind of gratitude that spanned the universe. Soon after, Chu Jiang and Noah were on a spacecraft that shuttled between the stars and headed for the distant planet Zack. Chapter 98: The Darkness of the Interstellar. As the spacecraft passed through the interstellar darkness, Chu Jiang stood in front of the viewing window, and the stars in front of him were like a magnificent picture. Noah walked over from the side and stood beside him. "Is this the first time you've left the Earth?" Noah asked. Chu Jiang nodded. "I didn't expect this day to come so soon." The environment inside the spacecraft is full of a sense of technology. The transparent holographic screen continuously displays complex data, while various instruments and consoles emit a faint light. The cabin lights are soft, giving people a strange sense of tranquility. "Don't worry, Zack Star's technology ensures a smooth flight." Noah tried to ease his nervousness. Chu Jiang took a deep breath, turned his head, and looked at the other team members. They were either checking equipment or talking. Everyone's face showed a nervous but expectant expression. "How can we help you?" Chu Jiang broke the silence. Noah's eyes became serious. "First of all, we need you to confirm the properties of Kron energy and see if it is possible to use your energy mediator to convert or stabilize it. Secondly, we hope to use your wisdom to find new ones. Energy solution. The spacecraft gradually approaches the planet Zack. Through the viewing window, you can see that the planet is getting bigger and bigger. Its beautiful blue surface is surrounded by a gorgeous halo, like a gem. As the spacecraft landed, a group of people stepped off the spacecraft and set foot on the planet Zack. The sky here is orange-red, with two suns hanging high in the sky. The buildings on the ground have strange styles, some are like spirals, and some are like huge crystals. They were introduced into a huge circular building, which is the Energy Research Center of Zack Star. Noah introduced the center's various departments and ongoing projects. Chu Jiang was attracted by a kind of laboratory called the Harmonic Room, where all data and experimental equipment about energy are gathered. In the Harmonic Room, Chu Jiang saw a sample of Croton, which emitted a faint blue light and flowed with lifelike energy. He nervously began to analyze the properties of Croning, trying to find a connection point with Earth's technology. As time passed, Chu Jiang and his team members devoted almost all their time and energy. They have in-depth exchanges and discussions with scientists from Zack Star, and constantly try new theories and experiments. One late night, when Chu Jiang was still working late at night in the harmonic room, Noah walked in. "Chu Jiang, you work too hard and should take a rest," Noah said softly. Chu Jiang raised his head, a little tired. "Maybe we have found a possibility that can stabilize Crow and even convert energy." Noah's eyes lit up, but then he showed worry. "But we don't know what kind of dangerous criminals will be behind this." Chu Jiang put down the tools in his hands and looked at Noah seriously. "Science is always accompanied by unknowns and risks. If we don't take this step, we will always stay where we are." At Chu Jiang's insistence, they conducted the first energy conversion experiment. On the day of the experiment, everyone gathered in the harmonic room, nervously waiting for the results. Chu Jiang held the console in his hand, took a deep breath, and then pressed the button. I saw the platform where the Cronin sample was located glowing brightly, and the entire room was filled with bright blue brilliance. Data jumps rapidly on the screen, showing the progress of energy conversion. Just when everyone thought success was imminent, suddenly the whole building shook, and the strong vibration made everyone almost unsteady. "What happened?" the masked creature asked loudly. Noah's face turned pale, and he hurriedly checked the readings. "No, it's impossible. The experiment triggered an energy chain reaction. We must stop it immediately." Chu Jiang rushed to the console, but the shock caused him to fall to the ground. All the brilliance began to become dazzling, and a huge energy was gathering. At this critical moment, the entire harmonic room was suddenly surrounded by a huge energy field. Everything stopped, and even the light froze in the air. Chapter 99. The sun is about to erupt with a helium flash. Chu Jiang slowly opened his eyes and found himself lying on a wet ground, surrounded by a cold atmosphere. He felt a little stiff and tried to sit up, but felt dizzy. After standing up unsteadily, Chu Jiang looked around. There was endless darkness in front of him, with only a faint outline of faint green light appearing in the distance. The damp and cold air made him shiver. He looked around and found that he was in an unknown space. Seeing his friends at the base disappear, he felt an inexplicable uneasiness in his heart. With doubts and vigilance, Chu Jiang began to move forward cautiously. Every time he took a step, there would be a strange echo from 750 below the ground, as if to tell him that this was a space that was completely contrary to common sense. Gradually, Chu Jiang walked into the area where the faint green light was. The sight before him stunned him. In front of him was a dilapidated city, covered by the erosion of time and full of vicissitudes of life. The dilapidated high-rise buildings and streets reflect the decay of the place. Chu Jiang felt that strange feeling as if the whole space was calling him. He began to carefully observe the surrounding buildings, trying to find some clues. Discovering a cave, Chu Jiang walked into the cave curiously, as if it was common for a cave to appear in such a dilapidated city. Chu Jiang frowned, feeling uneasy in his heart. Suddenly the noisy sizzle of a broadcast filled the air. He began to look around for the source of the radio sound and tried to understand the message conveyed. The sound of the radio echoed in the cave, making the space seem even more trance-like. The dim stone walls cast a faint light, forming blurry shadows in the cave. Chu Jiang followed the sound and carefully walked through a terrifying dark passage. Finally, he came to a wide open space. There is an ancient and huge radio in the center of the empty field, with various strange instruments and equipment scattered around it. The sound of the radio came from here. Chu Jiang walked, BDFG, close to the radio and stroked the rusty body with his hand. Suddenly, a red light flashed across the radio and it started up softly. "Please pay attention, please pay attention." A hoarse and depressed voice came from the radio. "According to the latest statistics, the sun is about to erupt with a helium flash. This is an unprecedented crisis in the history of human civilization." 17. Chu Jiang frowned and listened intently. Helium flash will release huge energy and trigger violent earthquakes and volcanic eruptions around the world. Human civilization will face an unprecedented disaster. We call on people around the world to be prepared and find ways to escape and safe shelters. Chu Jiang was shocked. He learned this unimaginable news from the radio. He looked around. The empty field was filled with various technological equipment and materials, which seemed to be prepared for studying helium flash. Chu Jiang was filled with shock and anxiety, and he was eager to find others to share this desperate news. He carefully walked around various technological equipment and materials and walked towards the two figures in the corner of the cave. When Chu Jiang took a closer look, he found that one of them was a tall man. His unkempt appearance showed that he had been here for a long time. The other is a scholar wearing a lab coat, looking at the data in his hand intently. Chapter 100 Meeting people in the same situation. Chu Jiang couldn't help but quicken his pace and walked straight to them. Dongwei and Mubai were also surprised by his appearance, and asked each other about this strange place and the broadcast news. Dongwei frowned and said, "How did you get here? I thought we were the only ones trapped in this cave." Chu Jiang looked at Mubai and Dongwei, and replied with a slightly nervous tone, "I don't know how I got here. I just heard the radio, telling us that the sun is about to erupt with a helium flash." Mubai stopped what he was doing, his eyes showing an expression of disbelief. He raised his head, looked at Chu Jiang and said, "This news is too terrible. It's hard to imagine what the consequences would be if a helium flash really happened." Dongwei patted Chu Jiang on the shoulder, tried to comfort him and said, "We need to calm down now and find a way to get out of here together. Is there any chance of escape?" Chu Jiang pondered for a moment and replied, "I saw some equipment and materials over there. Maybe we can use them to make a tool or device to help us escape from the cave." The three began to look around for potentially useful items. Chu Jiang, Mubai and Dongwei looked around for useful items, hoping to make a tool or device to help them escape from the cave. They carefully searched every corner, hoping to find some usable materials. Suddenly, a strong wave of energy hit, and the three of them were pushed to the ground. When they stood up again, they found that they were no longer in the cave, but in a completely unfamiliar space. Chu Jiang, Mubai and Dongwei looked at each other, not knowing what happened. Chu Jiang said, "Were you also transported to this place by that energy wave?" Mubai nodded, "Yes, I also suddenly felt a powerful energy gathering and came here." Dongwei added with a wry smile, "It seems that we all suffered the same fate." The three of them communicated with each other about what happened before they were transported to this space. Chu Jiang told how he rushed to find them after hearing the broadcast news, while Mubai and Dongwei also shared their experiences of being teleported here from the laboratory and home respectively. Everyone was confused and surprised, not knowing where they were and what was happening. They looked around, but there was only an empty space around them, and no signs could be seen to indicate the next way. Chu Jiang, Mubai and Dongwei looked around, seeing chaos in their vision. "Please give me flowers." At this time, the sky was covered by a layer of gray dust, exuding a strange and unfamiliar smell. A slightly sick feeling came over them. The three young men tried to hold back the discomfort and tried to concentrate. Mubai looked up at the dust-covered sky, full of confusion in his heart. He asked curiously, "Did you notice if anyone else was nearby before we were teleported to this place just now?" Chu Jiang and Dongwei also shook their heads in confusion. Chu Jiang thought for a while and then said, "I didn't see anyone else, I just heard a radio message saying that there might be important clues nearby. That means we might have been chosen to be teleported here." Dongwei reminded everyone, "No matter what, we must find a way back as soon as possible." "That's right." Chu Jiang took a deep breath, "But before we act, we need to ensure that we stay in close contact with each other. Although this environment is unfamiliar, the dangers are obvious." Chapter 101 Exploring the Surface Conditions. The three of them nodded in agreement and helped each other avoid the rubble and debris scattered on the ground. They moved forward cautiously, trying to find some clues or signs. As they continued to move forward, the surrounding scene became more and more desolate. The buildings around him were in dilapidated condition, and the road was full of cracks and potholes. In the dead silence, only their own rapid breathing could be heard. "We must find a way back as soon as possible." 453. Chu Jiang reminded keenly. "We can split up and search the nearby areas, hoping to find some useful clues." Mubai nodded quickly, "Okay. I'll be in charge here." After saying that, he quickly walked towards the east direction. Dongwei turned to the south, "I'll go over here and have a look." He walked towards a ruins. Chu Jiang was left standing alone, looking around, but there was no obvious clue. But he knew he couldn't give up. In this strange and dangerous environment, time and space might be distorted. At this moment, a chill hit his cheek. He knew he was heading in the right direction. The three of them kept walking forward, hoping to find each other in the way back. In the process, they issued warning sounds from time to time to remind each other of possible dangers around them. They carefully stepped onto the charred land, as if they were walking into ruins. Trees were destroyed and buildings collapsed. No one was spared. The ground is full of cracks and holes, as if there had been a huge explosion. The three people had shock and fear on their faces, observing all this silently. They know they can find answers faster only by working together. Chu Jiang looked around and found a dilapidated building. Although it has been changed beyond recognition, judging from its shape, it seems that it was once a technology laboratory. He quickly ran there, hoping to find some useful clues. After Mubai and Dong Wei saw Chu Jiang's actions, they did not stop and wait for him to come back. Instead, they decided to split up and search the surrounding area. Mubai chose to go north, while Dong Wei headed west. Chu Jiang came to the building that used to be a laboratory. The walls have collapsed, exposing the concrete frame and steel structure. He carefully stepped over a pile of broken glass and entered the interior of the building. The interior was in a mess, with piles of documents and experimental equipment scattered on the floor. Cables hung from the walls, and dim lights barely illuminated the surroundings. Light as bright as day pierced the sky again, illuminating the entire ruins in a dazzling light. The sun seemed to suddenly become extremely bright at the same time, and the dazzling light made it impossible to open your eyes. A strong heat wave hit, and Chu Jiang, Mubai and Dong Wei were forced to hide behind the bunker. What's going on? Chu Jiang frowned and muttered to himself, trying to figure out what happened. He took out a small instrument from his pocket and began to scan the surrounding environment. The instrument shows unusually high energy fluctuations. Mubai looked at Chu Jiang's instrument and asked, "Can you determine what 1.5 is?" Chu Jiang covered his eyes with difficulty and replied, "According to my analysis, this is likely to be a helium flash phenomenon." Helium flash is an extremely rare and powerful discharge phenomenon that can cause a huge energy release under certain specific environments. Dong Wei swallowed and asked while maintaining his composure, "What should we do? How to protect each other from this energy wave?" Chapter 102 Cherish the Second Life. Chu Jiang thought for a moment and then said, "We need to find a safer place, away from this ruin. The dilapidated laboratory is no longer a reliable place of refuge. We need to get out of here quickly." The three men immediately took action, carefully making their way through the scattered debris and cracks on the ground. Although their vision was blurred, they relied on each other's voices and touches to maintain a tight formation as much as possible. They finally found a relatively safe corner, hiding behind a pile of rubble. Mubai quickly took down the tent in his backpack and used it to set up a simple shelter. "It should be relatively safe here." Mubai panted heavily and said that the fluctuations gradually stopped, and the dazzling light gradually dissipated, leaving behind a lifeless ruins. Chu Jiang slowly opened his eyes, looking at the dilapidated equipment and ruins around him, and a firm determination surged in his heart. He knows that he is the one with scientific and technological knowledge among the survivors, and he also realizes that only by using this opportunity and knowledge can everything be saved. "We have to act quickly," Chu Jiang said in a deep voice. "This emergency may be just the beginning. I want to use the scientific and technological knowledge in my hands to prevent the end of mankind that may occur next." Mubai and Dong Wei looked at each other and saw the firm look in Chu Jiang's eyes. They took a deep breath and agreed to his plan. "Let's find the other survivors first," Chu Jiang said. "Besides us, there should be others who survived this incident. If we can gather together and jointly use the strength and resources we each have, we may be able to break the situation." They walked carefully through the ruins, looking for other survivors. Along the way they encountered people trapped under the debris and worked to free them. Everyone who was rescued was grateful. No one imagined that anyone could survive this disaster. Chu Jiang continued his search and finally found an abandoned laboratory. Although it was destroyed beyond recognition, it still provided a place of refuge. They entered the laboratory and looked at the dilapidated scene around them, making Chu Jiang feel even more determined. He began to think about how to use the scientific and technological knowledge in his hands to create a new future for the survivors. "I have some equipment that I can repair," Chu Jiang said. "Although it is old and worn out, as long as we can gather together and use scientific and technological knowledge and resources, maybe we can really create a new world." Mubai and Dongwei looked at Chu Jiang's firm and hopeful face, and their hearts began to be filled with confidence. They firmly believe that Chu Jiang has the ability to change everything. The three people decided to use this abandoned laboratory as their base and searched for other survivors around them. Chu Jiang looked at the ruins surrounding the abandoned 970 laboratory, filled with longing for the future. He knew that only through on-the-spot inspections could he obtain more accurate intelligence and data in order to better formulate response measures. After careful consideration, he decided to tell Dong Wei and Mu Bai about this idea. The three people got together to discuss who would send more people to the surface for field inspections, and decided to set up a team to implement the plan. We need to select someone with the ability and courage to participate in the field trip. Chu Jiang suggested, he needs to have certain scientific and technological knowledge and survivability to deal with any dangers he may encounter. Chapter 103 Mutual Promise to Stick to It. Dong Wei looked at Chu Jiang with firm eyes. I will do my best to support your plan. We must work hard for the little hope we have left. Chu Jiang looked at his two friends gratefully, knowing that he was not alone, and the three decided to join together. The three of them believe that as long as they unite, they can overcome any difficulties. Chu Jiang, Dong Wei, and Mu Bai stood together, looking at the chaotic ruins and wilderness around them. Dilapidated buildings, collapsed walls, and endless ruins seemed to be mercilessly mocking their efforts and hopes. However, they had no intention of backing down. Chu Jiang clenched his fists and showed a firm and confident look. We can't give up. Although the difficulties we have to face are huge, only by persisting can we have a daily opportunity, he said firmly. Dong Wei looked at Chu Jiang and felt his unstoppable determination. He nodded. Yes, we cannot be defeated by this ruins. We have lost too much, and now we have no choice but to persevere. Mu Bai held Chu Jiang and Dong Wei's hands tightly, conveying deep trust and support. I believe in you and I believe that we can overcome all difficulties. The three of them exchanged firm and resolute looks, promising to persevere no matter what difficulties they encountered and work together to realize their plans. They know that this mission is not only for themselves, but also to save the entire human race. Chu Jiang looked at the thick smoke and the ruins of the destroyed city in the distance, and a fire ignited in his heart. He believes that as long as enough brave people join, they will be able to overcome the darkness brought by the lost City of Hope. They decided to set up a team dedicated to field investigation and intelligence collection to explore the secrets of this wilderness from the surface. Only through actual actions can we obtain more accurate intelligence and data to better formulate response measures. Dong Wei passed a map and marked various important landmarks and possible entry points on it. We need to plan every action step in advance and be fully prepared, she said seriously. We will be the vanguard and find a way to survive for the entire human race. Chu Jiang took a deep breath and was full of confidence in himself and his partners. We will not let down this trust, and we will do our best to complete this mission and protect the future of mankind. There was firmness and determination in his voice. Mu Bai looked at the various locations marked on the map, and couldn't help but feel excited in his heart. This will be a dangerous and exciting journey, and I believe we can get through it, he said passionately. The three of them held each other's hands tightly. This simple and solemn gesture seemed to be a tacit understanding. Chu Jiang decided to use his technological knowledge to find other survivors and launch his plan to them. He believes that only Qian Zhao can save mankind from doom by working together. After discussing the details with Dong Wei and Mu Bai, Chu Jiang began to prepare to launch their plan to other survivors. They know very well that if they want to survive in this city that has lost hope, they need the support and participation of more people. Over the next few days, Chu Jiang turned his technology lab into a command center. The computer screen displayed the locations and information of known survivors in the ruins. Chapter 104 The Theory of New Materials. He used advanced satellite monitoring systems to study the possible environmental conditions and living conditions of each survivor. Through detailed analysis of the ruins, Chu Jiang discovered some potential refuge spots. He marked these places on a map and planned the best routes to reach those lucky enough to escape the confines of the city's ruins. We need to act quickly. Chu Jiang stood in the command center, clenching his fists. Every second is crucial, we can't waste any more time. Chu Jiang led Dong Wei and Mu Bai into his technology laboratory, and their master came to a quiet corner. Chu Jiang began to show them the theory about controllable 940 nuclear fusion and new materials in detail. Chu Jiang picked up a piece of gravel and used it to gently carve equations and images on the cave wall. His movements are skillful and agile, as if he were freely swaying on the ink paper. Look at this equation, this is my latest research on the controllable nuclear fusion theory. Chu Jiang said, pointing to the equations pieced together on the wall. If we can successfully implement this theory, we can use nuclear energy to supply the city's energy needs and no longer rely on limited resources. Dong Wei and Mu Bai stood beside Chu Jiang, listening to his explanation attentively. They were attracted by Chu Jiang's profound and simple way of expression, as if they were in a world full of hope and unknown. Next, Chu Jiang pointed out another part of the image. This is the result of my research on a new material. It has very strong pressure resistance and conductivity and can be widely used in construction and manufacturing. Dong Wei asked curiously, Chu Jiang, your theory sounds great, but are these only valid in theory? How can we verify their feasibility? Chu Jiang continued to describe the controllable core in vivid language, the process of fusion, explaining in detail how damage to the environment can be avoided. His words are full of scientific power and passion, which makes people immersed in it. Did you know that controllable nuclear fusion is an energy supply method modeled on the sun? In this process, we produce energy by fusing hydrogen nuclei into helium. Unlike traditional nuclear fission, nuclear fusion produces not radioactive waste, but environmentally friendly, clean, and harmless energy. Chu Jiang said excitedly. Mu Bai was stunned when he heard this. This is really amazing. Does it mean that we can use this method to replace traditional energy without worrying about negative impacts on the environment? Chu Jiang nodded and smiled. That's right. And the fuels required for nuclear fusion, hydrogen and heavy water, are quite abundant and easy to obtain resources. Therefore, before large-scale applications can be realized, we only need to solve technological problems and engineering challenges. Dong Wei showed surprise and admiration on his face. Chu Jiang, you are so awesome. Your understanding and mastery of technology is incredible. These theories sound really exciting to O. Chu Jiang smiled modestly. Actually, I just made some attempts and breakthroughs based on the research of many scientists, but if we can further verify these theories, I believe there will be endless possibilities in the future. Chu Jiang continued to introduce excitedly. In addition to controllable nuclear fusion, I also have a new discovery to share with you, the new material, Star. This material has amazing high temperature resistance and can withstand temperatures exceeding 2000 degrees Celsius. Chapter 105 Star Elements. Both Dong Wei and Mu Bai were excited about this new discovery, and they couldn't wait to learn more about Star Element. Chu Jiang's eyes flashed, and he began to explain in detail. Xingchensu is a composite material synthesized from a variety of special elements. It has very high thermal conductivity and strength, so it can be used in high-temperature environments. It remains stable, and at the same time, it also has good corrosion resistance and durability, which gives Xingchensu a huge advantage in extreme conditions such as high temperatures in nuclear fusion reactors. Hearing this, Dong Wei couldn't help but ask, Chu Jiang, do you think we can apply Star Element in practical projects? Chu Jiang pondered for a moment and replied, it is possible to a certain extent. Although large-scale application has not yet been fully realized, I believe that as long as we continue to research and explore, we will be able to find a suitable method. The characteristics of Xingchensu make it has broad application potential in many fields, such as aerospace, energy, etc. Mu Bai's eyes flashed with excitement. Then can we use the Star Element to create more advanced and efficient spacecraft? Chu Jiang nodded in agreement. Exactly. Xingchensu can provide excellent heat resistance and strength, which means that we can break the limitations of traditional materials and design and manufacture more advanced and lightweight space vehicles. This it will undoubtedly push the entire aerospace field to a new level. Dong Wei and Mu Bai began to think seriously about how to apply this new material and had in-depth discussions with Chu Jiang. Starting from different angles, they discussed the potential of Xingchensu in various fields, and put forward their own opinions on possible problems. After listening to Chu Jiang's introduction to Xingchensu, Mu Bai's heart burned with excitement. Getting up, he never thought that such avant-garde and profound knowledge would be used when the end came. Now he has the opportunity to change the world, and he has a strong desire in his heart to promote the advancement of science and technology. Chu Jiang, I am willing to follow you to conduct experimental verification. Mu Bai said excitedly, you have a very deep understanding and mastery of the Star Element, and I believe you will be able to find an effective application method. Chu Jiang smiled and nodded to express his thanks. Mubai, I'm glad you can join this experimental project. We need to verify the formula model and try to prepare Xingchensu. Please give me flowers. Mubai had a firm look on his face. I will do my best to help you. The two began to enter the laboratory in the ruins, each picked up the tools and prepared them. Chu Jiang took out a laptop and opened a complex model image on it. 0. We first need to confirm whether the formula model is valid. Chu Jiang said, then look for possible problems and solve them. Mubai carefully observed Chu Jiang's operation from the side, asking questions and concerns about the formula model from time to time, hoping to better understand and master the principles. Chu Jiang answered every question carefully. He patiently explained the physical principles behind the formulas and the working mechanism of the nuclear fusion reactor. They exchanged ideas with each other and kept deliberating on every detail. Time passed quietly during the two people's experiments. They seemed to be in a microscopic world, chasing between high technology and hope. Chapter 106 Solid Backing. Dong Wei had been standing aside, quietly watching Chu Jiang and Mubai's experiments. Although he didn't know much about technology, from Chu Jiang's full faith and in-depth understanding of knowledge, he saw a great opportunity and a hope that could change the status quo. Various emotions surged in his heart, including admiration, and even some envy. He understands that in this post-apocalyptic world, only relying on technology can, April 17th, bring real change. And Chu Jiang is the person who can lead the advancement of science and technology. Mubai realized that Dong Wei was standing aside without making any movement, so he turned his head to look at him. Seeing Dong Wei's expressionless face but firm eyes staring at him and Chu Jiang, Mubai seemed to be able to feel the light rising deep in Dong Wei's heart. Dong Wei, what's wrong with you? Mubai asked. Dong Wei smiled and shook his head. It's okay, I'm just thinking about something. Hearing what Dong Wei said, Chu Jiang stopped what he was doing and turned around to look at him. Do you want to join us too? Dong Wei nodded. Yes, I have decided to trust you and become your solid backing. I am willing to provide all necessary support and resources, whether financial or human, so that you can concentrate on conducting verification experiments. Chu Jiang and Mubai looked at each other and smiled, their hearts filled with gratitude. Thank you, Dong Wei. Chu Jiang said, we will be more confident with your support. Dong Wei smiled and waved his hand. You're welcome. I also hope that we can change the current predicament through our efforts. Technology is our only hope. Chu Jiang clasped his fists to express his gratitude, then let's work together. The three of them continued to be immersed in the experiment. Dong Wei began to contact various resources to provide them with the required materials and equipment. He arranged a dedicated team to assist Chu Jiang and Mubai and ensure that they could conduct the experiment safely. Chu Jiang and Mubai devoted themselves to the experiment of the formula model with enthusiasm. They set up a small laboratory, collected various materials and made the necessary equipment. Mubai quickly integrated into it and assisted Chu Jiang in data analysis and parameter adjustment, maintaining a high degree of concentration and abundant energy at all times. In the corner of the laboratory, Dong Wei silently observed every movement of Chu Jiang and Mubai. He saw Chu Jiang operating the instrument with a serious look on his face, and his fingers dexterously adjusted the buttons and toggle switches. He saw Mubai busy and focused recording data, observing data charts, and analyzing the changing numbers with Chu Jiang. Mubai occasionally raised his head to look at Dong Wei, his eyes revealing his gratitude for the support of all dimensions. Dong Wei smiled and nodded, encouraging them to continue working hard. Chu Jiang and Mubai worked closely together, communicating and discussing experimental results, explanations of phenomena, and optimization plans. They inspire more inspiration from each other and face possible difficulties and challenges together. We need to further optimize the parameters of the model to ensure the accuracy of the experimental results. Chu Jiang said, with firm 0.4 determination flashing in his eyes. Mubai nodded, we can try to slightly adjust the input data to see if we can get better results. They began to conduct a series of experiments, constantly adjusting the parameters and input data of the model. They tried various possibilities and recorded every subtle change. The lab is filled with buzzing sounds and keyboard clacking. Chapter 107 The experiment achieved initial success. Mubai and Chu Jiang stared at the computer screen nervously and intently, with exhaustion and expectation in their eyes. In the last experiment, they successfully predicted the occurrence of a specific phenomenon, and the experiment proved the accuracy of their model. Look. Look at the data. Mubai excitedly pointed to the dancing numbers on the screen. We succeeded. We really succeeded. Chu Jiang held Mubai's hand excitedly, with tears in his eyes. Thanks to you, you helped me get to where we are today. They cheered to celebrate this milestone breakthrough, and the room 13 was filled with joy and fulfillment. This small laboratory has witnessed their countless failures and efforts, and now finally has an initial success. But the joy lasted only for a moment. Mubai looked up at Chu Jiang, full of affection and gratitude. Chu Jiang, I couldn't do this without you. Chu Jiang gently patted Mubai on the shoulder. Without you, I wouldn't be here today, he said, and turned to sort out the scattered papers on the table. So, what do we do next? Mubai's eyes flashed with anticipation. Chu Jiang stopped what he was doing and thought, I think we should continue to study this formula model in depth and improve it. It has huge potential and can help us solve a series of problems that may arise after the end of the world. Mubai nodded in agreement. Yes, this model has unlimited possibilities. We can try to apply it to other fields to see if we can achieve the same accuracy. They began to make plans and discuss various possibilities. The lab was filled with excitement and anticipation. As time went by, Mubai and Chu Jiang lived a relatively regular life in the experiment. Every morning they enter the laboratory energetically and devote themselves to data analysis and parameter adjustment. They constantly challenge themselves, break through themselves, and improve the model by constantly trying new solutions. After a whole day of research and discussion, Mubai, Chu Jiang, and Dong Wei finally put down the documents in their hands and breathed a long sigh of relief. The three of them looked at each other and smiled, feeling the tacit understanding between them. Chu Jiang looked up at his two friends, with a determined light in his eyes. We have achieved initial success, but this is just the beginning. Now we need to study this formula model more deeply and explore its boundaries and subversion. Mubai and Dong Wei both nodded deeply in agreement. They all feel the tremendous power contained in this model, and they believe it will become the key to changing the world. Next we will divide the work and cooperate. Chu Jiang suggested, I will be responsible for data analysis and formulation of experimental plans. Dong Wei volunteered, I can be responsible for collecting information and conducting background 303 research. Mubai said, I will try to apply this model to different fields and communicate and cooperate with other scientists. The three unanimously decided to divide the work and cooperate. They understand that only by supporting and collaborating with each other can they better explore this unknown territory. Chu Jiang, Mubai, and Dong Wei decided to work hard. They all firmly believe that only by putting in enough effort can they truly explore the boundaries and potential of this formula model. Chu Jiang picked up the gravel and continued to write equations and images on the cave wall. His hands made several cuts on the carved stone, but he didn't notice the marks. Chapter 108 Work with all your strength. Everything in front of him was completely attracted by him, and he was immersed in the endless fun of scientific exploration. Every time he writes, he can feel the connection between himself and this formula model getting closer and closer. Mubai began to conduct experimental tests on the star element with the limited tools at hand. He carefully placed the object on a special test stand and measured various parameters with precise instruments. The results of each experiment are recorded and compared with previous conclusions. He lost track of time and focused solely on the challenges posed by the experimental data in his hands. Dong Wei sat at the table, concentrating on collecting information and conducting background research. She turned on her computer and searched for relevant information on various technology websites and academic databases. She tried to find more cases and the experiences of previous researchers to provide more possibilities and directions for their research. There was a tense and energetic atmosphere throughout the room. The three people were all concentrating on their work, and their figures seemed to be integrated into this picture depicting the boundaries of science. Their desire and pursuit of the unknown world are getting stronger and stronger. After a while, Chu Jiang put down the gravel in his hand and stared at the equations and images reflected on the cave wall through his glasses. A deep sense of satisfaction welled up in my heart. He knew that this was just the beginning, but he firmly believed that as long as he worked hard enough, he could open the door to the unknown. Mubai looked at the rows of numbers and curves in the experimental data in his hand, comparing them with the theoretical model in his mind. He constantly adjusts parameters and improves experimental plans, hoping to find better and more accurate results. Every breakthrough brings him great satisfaction. Dongwei found a paper related to their research and read it carefully. She frowned slightly, thinking about how to apply these new discoveries to their research. She opened the document on her computer and began to organize and record these new ideas and thoughts. The three of them exerted their talents in their respective fields and cooperated with each other tacitly. Chu Jiang, Mubai, and Dongwei sat around the table, each with a trace of exhaustion on their faces. The few days of sleeplessness finally began to have a certain negative impact on their physical and mental strength. However, they did not stop, but worked harder on research. Chu Jiang stretched out and glanced tiredly at the densely packed images and equations on the cave wall. He knew this was just the beginning of their exploration, but could not give up no matter what. After all, there are huge potentials and unknowns hidden behind this formula model. He is determined to continue to conduct in-depth research until all mysteries are revealed. Mubai gently rubbed his sore eyes and stared at the tiny changes on the experimental table under the magnifying glass. He tried his best to adjust parameters and improve experimental plans, hoping to find, Wang Zhao's, better and more accurate results. Every breakthrough brought him a great sense of satisfaction, and at the same time ignited his endless love for scientific exploration deep in his heart. At this moment, Tu broke the silence of the room. She stood up, stretched her tired arms, and walked to the cave entrance. She knew that this was their only breakthrough. If there really is prime, then there should be traces to follow. Chapter 109 Controlled Nuclear Fusion Theory. Dongwei used his good physical fitness to look for possible star elements around the cave. She carefully touched the surface of the cave wall, trying to feel any unusual smells or subtle vibrations. She closed her eyes and focused all her attention on her surroundings. Time passed by minute, and a long time passed before I knew it. Dongwei felt that her physical strength was gradually exhausted, but she did not give up. Chu Jiang sat in the research room, immersed in trivial scientific research materials. His eyes stared at the dense equations and data on the computer screen for a long time, trying to find a clue to a breakthrough. He has not had a good rest for several days, but he is still devoted to this important project. Suddenly, Chu Jiang's eyes lit up and he discovered a key clue. 407. From these data, he saw a peculiar pattern and law. This discovery made him think a lot. If this clue can be successfully applied, it may be possible to solve the problem of nuclear fusion energy. Chu Jiang immediately began to conduct further calculations and deductions. After several hours of hard work, he determined the feasibility and realized that if this new nuclear fusion technology was to be realized, a rare material, Chenjing, would be needed. When Chu Jiang thought about looking for star elements, he couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. After all, star element is so rare, and most people haven't even heard of its existence. But he also knew that only by finding this material could his theory become a reality. He didn't think much and stood up resolutely. He walked straight to the office next to him and found Bai and Tuwei. "Are you free?" Chu Jiang asked, eyes sparkling with excitement. Mubai raised his tired eyes to look at Chu Jiang and nodded. "What's the matter?" he asked, with a hint of exhaustion in his voice. Chu Jiang smiled and moved closer to the two of them. "I found an important clue," he said excitedly. "I believe this clue will allow us to solve the problem of nuclear fusion energy." When Dongwei heard Chu Jiang's words, a trace of expectation flashed in his eyes. She asked, "Are you sure?" Chu, BDDF, Jiang nodded. "I have conducted detailed calculations and deductions. This theory is feasible, but to realize it, we also need a rare material, star element. Mubai and Dongwei were both shocked. They immediately expressed their support for Chu Jiang's idea and expressed their willingness to cooperate with him. "We cannot miss this opportunity." Mubai said encouragingly, "We will definitely find the star element." Dongwei nodded in agreement. "We have believed in Chu Jiang from the beginning, and even more so now. We will definitely succeed." Chu Jiang felt the support and encouragement from Mubai and Dongwei, and his heart was full of strength. They decided to embark on a journey together to find the star element and work hard to realize their dreams. The three of them sat down again and started in-depth discussions and plans about the star element material. Mubai, Chu Jiang, and Dong Wei came to the special space and got the opportunity to meet the intellectual tribe. The special space is a mysterious and solemn place, filled with a quiet and peaceful atmosphere. The three of them were dressed in neat scientific research clothes and looked particularly professional. Walking into a huge circular building, they were guided to a spacious and bright conference room. Chapter 110 Knowledge Group in Different Spaces. This conference room is not like the scientific research scene they are familiar with. There is no equipment and only a few rows of neatly arranged seats. At the front, sat a group of creatures that looked completely different from humans. Chu Jiang knew that they were in different time and space eras, but they had the same infinite wisdom as normal humans. Chu Jiang felt the powerful and profound atmosphere here, and couldn't help but feel awe. He coughed slightly, attracting the attention of all members of the intellectual group. Dear intellectual gentlemen and ladies, thank you for taking the time to meet with us. Chu Jiang spoke in a calm and confident voice. I am Chu Jiang, and these are my friends Mubai and Dong Wei. We are from the Earth and are here to look for your help. The existence of the intellectual group is one of the most mysterious groups on the Earth. They possess extremely high levels of wisdom and technology. They have always paid attention to the problems encountered in the development of science and technology on the Earth. Now, Chu Jiang hopes to submit his theory of controllable nuclear fusion to these enigmatic creatures for review. All members looked at Chu Jiang quietly, with deep interest in their eyes. There is no doubt that they have quickly understood the scientific solution presented by Chu Jiang. The theory of controllable nuclear fusion you proposed is very promising. One of the intellectual group members spoke. We have never seen such a precise and stable solution to a problem. Do you believe you can successfully achieve it? Chu Jiang nodded. Yes, my team has conducted a lot of calculations and deductions and achieved encouraging results, but to realize this theory, we need a very rare material. Star element. There were whispers in the conference room. The members of the knowledge group seemed to be discussing something important. Chu Jiang smiled slightly. He was very happy that the knowledge group affirmed his plan. They are the most intelligent and intelligent race on Earth, and being recognized by them is a huge honor for Chu Jiang. Dear intellectual gentlemen and ladies, thank you very much for your recognition of my plan. Chu Jiang greeted them sincerely. Please give me flowers. I believe that as long as we work together, we can achieve this great and challenging goal. Mubai and Dong Wei were also moved by the positive response to the plan from members of the intellectual community. They all know that if they can get the support of the intellectual community, they will bring huge changes to the Earth. Mr. Chu Jiang, after in-depth research and discussion, we have designed a plan called the Star Project. 0. One of the members of the intellectual group said seriously. Based on the controllable nuclear fusion theory you provided and the star element material we found, we can build a new type of nuclear fusion reactor. This reactor will be able to provide a continuous, clean, and harmless energy source. Mubai, Chu Jiang, and Dong Wei's eyes all shone with light, and they could feel the huge changes brought about by this plan. This is an exciting plan. Chu Jiang said excitedly. We have been worried about the energy crisis. When the end of the world is approaching, if there is a solution to the energy problem, it will change the destiny of the entire human race. Chapter 111 Hope to change the plan of doomsday. Mubai continued, yes, we can no longer rely on oil and fossil fuels to meet our energy needs. The use of controllable nuclear fusion technology can provide clean, safe, and unlimited energy, which can not only solve the Earth's environmental problems, but also promote technological development. Dong Wei added, for this plan, we need to consider many factors. The first is the materials and resources required for reactor construction, and the second is the safety issue, 387, and integration with the existing energy system. Members of the knowledge community nodded in agreement and began to actively put forward opinions and suggestions. They hope to make this plan more complete and feasible through cooperation. Our knowledge community can help with the materials needed to build the reactor. One member said. We can use our technological level to find more star element materials through space exploration and other means. Another member continued, as for safety issues, we can organize a team of experts to evaluate and improve. We have the ability to ensure that the reactor operates safely and is seamlessly connected with the existing energy system. Chu Jiang, Mu Bai, and Dong Wei are all very satisfied with these suggestions. They believe that the help of the intellectual group will make the plan more perfect. The Star Project quickly attracted the attention of other intellectual groups. Soon after the news spread, various ethnic groups began to contact and collaborate to jointly explore this plan that was about to change the world structure. The team led by Mu Bai, Chu Jiang, and Dong Wei received applications from various ethnic groups to participate. They felt they were in the midst of a great historical moment. In this process, they established deep cooperative relationships and trust with other knowledge groups. The first people to participate in the Star Project were the Xiaqing ethnic group, who are famous for their exquisite craftsmanship. They promised to provide high-quality materials for the construction of nuclear fusion reactors and proposed some improvements to make the reactors more stable and efficient. Next is the Qiuyu tribe, who are good at astronomical observation and data analysis. They brought the latest astronomical data and combined it with the nuclear fusion theory provided by Chu Jiang to provide a more accurate and reliable model for reactor construction and operation. The Winter tribe has excellent energy storage technology. They designed an advanced and efficient energy storage system to ensure the continuous supply and smooth operation of nuclear fusion energy. In addition, there are many other intellectual groups who actively participate in the Star Project. They each use their own strengths and expertise to promote the implementation of the plan. Mu Bai, Chu Jiang, and Dong Wei always maintain a passionate working state. They work closely with various ethnic groups to overcome one problem after another. Each ethnic group brings new ideas and innovations, constantly improving the plan. As time goes by, the Star Project progresses rapidly. The construction project of nuclear fusion reactor has been carried out with the efforts of various ethnic groups. Large-scale collection of star materials, precise positioning of installation locations, and design of efficient energy transmission systems. Every task is being carried out in an orderly manner. During this process, Mu Bai, Chu Jiang, and Dong Wei shared their knowledge and technology without hesitation. They learned a lot from other knowledge groups and also communicated their professional knowledge to them in depth. Chapter 112 Entering the Wisdom Forest Again. Chu Jiang, Mu Bai, and Dong Wei stepped into the forest again. The scent of the woods made him feel very mysterious and reassuring. The towering trees cast mottled light and shadow, and the sun shines through the dense leaves, forming mottled patterns on the ground. Chu Jiang carefully stepped on the soft soil under his feet and walked along the winding path. He looked up from time to time to observe his surroundings and discovered some strange and beautiful birds flying among the trees. They made strange and melodious chirping sounds, as if they were singing some kind of secret. This mysterious and ancient forest exudes an immersive atmosphere. Chu Jiang felt a strong but indescribable flow of energy, and truly felt that there were infinite possibilities hidden behind this world. Mu Bai and Dong Wei were not with Chu Jiang, but they always kept in touch with him. Whenever Chu Jiang encounters any difficulties or doubts, they will provide timely help and advice. The three people cooperated tacitly, integrating their knowledge into one, and promoting the progress of the Star Project. In this mysterious forest, Chu Jiang felt a kind of peace away from the hustle and bustle and one with nature. He is no longer just a technology expert, but an adventurer exploring the unknown world. Every step, every breath brought him closer to the truth. Chu Jiang came to a huge and magnificent wisdom tree. He stared at the wisdom tree and found that it was covered with various complicated patterns and symbols. These patterns and symbols shine with a strange but wonderful light, as if telling a fascinating story. Chu Jiang was so attracted that he could hardly extricate himself. He stretched out his hand to touch one of the symbols, and suddenly a strange power spread throughout his body. Chu Jiang felt that he had a certain connection with this wisdom tree, and he began to work hard to understand this information, hoping to find new clues about the unfolding of the technology tree. Suddenly, a picture flashed quickly in Chu Jiang's mind. He saw countless scenes and events, and heard mysterious and ancient voices whispering in his ears. He immersed himself in it, trying to remember every detail. These patterns and symbols told him more about the expansion of the tech tree. They show a path to new knowledge and greater technological power. Chu Jiang understands that there is infinite wisdom and power hidden in this huge ancient wisdom tree, and he is the only person who can contact and understand these powers. Mu Bai and Dong Wei watched Chu Jiang quietly from a distance. They saw Chu Jiang becoming more and more focused and energetic. They knew that Chu Jiang was experiencing an extraordinary experience and could feel the importance of key knowledge to the Star Project. Chu Jiang felt himself attracted by this wisdom tree. He kept thinking and trying to analyze every pattern and symbol. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning-like inspiration struck him. Chu Jiang took a few deep breaths and closed his eyes. He stood quietly in front of the wisdom tree, trying to gather his thoughts. He recalled the scientific and technological knowledge and experimental experiences he had learned before, and tried to apply them to the current situation. His brain was running constantly, and his thoughts were jumping quickly. He was trying to find a way to promote the possibility of miniaturizing devices for fusion reactions. Chu Jiang knows that if the fusion reaction can be miniaturized, it will have a huge impact on future energy supply and technological development. Chapter 113 Interpreting the Information of the Wisdom Tree. However, this problem is not easy to solve. Chu Jiang needs to make full use of the information displayed on the wisdom tree and combine it with his own understanding and insight into the scientific and technological field. He closed his eyes, calmed down, and went deep into his heart. In the inner peace, Chu Jiang felt some kind of inspiration. A lightning-like thought suddenly flashed into his mind. He hurriedly opened his eyes and stared intently at the complex and profound flow of information on the Tree of Wisdom. The idea is about how to combine magnetic field control and gravity technology to achieve miniaturized devices for fusion reactions. Chu Jiang recalled the related technologies and theories he had studied before, and he believed that this idea had huge potential. He began to think about the design of this miniaturized device in his mind. He is trying to combine magnetic field control and gravity technology to achieve more efficient and stable fusion reactions. He considered the difficulties and challenges he might encounter and thought about how to solve them. He focused on reading the information flowing on the wisdom tree for Jiang. Every word shocked and excited him. This information involves various principles and methods of technology, energy, and material transformation, each of which is an opportunity for breakthrough. In front of him, a practical case about the combination of magnetic field control and gravity technology appeared on the wisdom tree, which made Chu Jiang full of hope. This case describes the development of a new material capable of achieving stable and efficient fusion reactions under extreme conditions. Chu Jiang picked up the pen and drew a simple design on the paper. He made preliminary assumptions about the composition and structure of materials, and tried to combine them with magnetic field control and gravity technology. He knew that this was just a preliminary idea, but he felt that he was already on the right path. Mubai watched Chu Jiang working attentively, and his heart was full of admiration and admiration. He knew that Chu Jiang was a very talented scientist, but he did not expect that Chu Jiang would have such profound and avant-garde thinking. Mubai felt as if he was in a grand and mysterious world. Dongwei approached Chu Jiang and asked with concern, "Chu Jiang, do you think this design is feasible? I don't know much about this technology, but you seem very confident." Chu Jiang stopped the pen in his hand and turned to look at Dongwei. He smiled and said, "Dongwei, it's still too early. This is just a preliminary idea and more research and experiments are needed to verify it. But I believe that through the combination of magnetic field control and gravity technology, we will be able to find a way to achieve it. A breakthrough in miniaturizing fusion reaction devices." Dongwei nodded. He was full of confidence in Chu Jiang. Although as a liberal arts student, he did not understand the technical principles involved, he believed that Chu Jiang could do it. Mubai turned on the computer and searched for relevant information on the internet. He hopes to find more scientific and technological progress and research results related to Chu Jiang's idea. Li Qian's, although no breakthrough news has been discovered yet, Mubai still remains optimistic. Chu Jiang closed his eyes again and calmed down. He was thinking about how to further improve the design and find ways to solve other problems that might arise. He believes that as long as they keep working hard and thinking, they will be able to achieve the goal of miniaturizing the fusion reaction device. Under the control of Chu Jiang, this group will lead mankind into a new era. Chapter 114 Doubts about Xingchensu. They will bring a great breakthrough to mankind and change the world's understanding of energy and technology. In the highest-level conference room of the cave community, a technology boss named Volker in the technology group watched attentively. A report on Chu Jiang. The report describes in detail Chu Jiang's ideas and preliminary experimental results on the star element theory. Walker became extremely interested in this concept, his eyes flashing with confusion and thought. This theory explores a new type of substance called astral, which, according to Chu Jiang, has properties such as gravity reversal and self-healing, and can be used to create more powerful, safer, and more efficient miniaturized devices for fusion reactions. These characteristics attracted Volker. Volker is a man with rich scientific and technological experience and major achievements. He has always maintained a strong interest in novel and avant-garde scientific and technological ideas. He believes that technological innovation is the key to human progress, and is convinced that these breakthrough discoveries can bring about huge changes. Just as Walker was lost in thought, Mubai walked into the conference room. He noticed that Walker had a strong interest in Chu Jiang and decided to introduce them to each other. "Mr. Walker, have you become interested in Chu Jiang's research?" Mubai asked. Walker raised his head, looked at Bai, smiled and nodded. "Yes, this theory is very attractive to BDCD people. If this star element really exists and can achieve the effect envisioned by Chu Jiang, it will be a revolutionary discovery. Where is Chu Jiang? I want to talk to him. Let's talk." Mubai pointed to the corridor outside the conference room and said, "He should still be in our laboratory. I can take you to find him." Walker stood up and said excitedly, "Great. I can't wait to discuss this theory with Chu Jiang in person." The two left the conference room and came to the entrance of the laboratory. Chu Jiang was sitting in front of an instrument conducting experiments, operating various buttons and controls attentively. "Chu Jiang, a gentleman would like to talk to you about the theory of star elements." Mubai introduced to Chu Jiang. Mubai led Chu Jiang to Walker, who was sitting at the conference table, and said with a smile, "Mr. Walker, this is Mr. Chu Jiang, a new member of our technology group. He proposed a method about star elements. Theory, I thought you might be interested in that." Walker turned to look at Chu Jiang. Under his smart and sharp eyes, Chu Jiang felt a strong and challenging aura. He faced it calmly and smiled confidently at Volker. Mubai continued, "Chu Jiang has very rich experience and knowledge in this field, and his theory has achieved very good results after preliminary experiments in our laboratory. Now is the perfect time for technological breakthroughs." Walker nodded silently, and then moved his eyes to the table next to him where a thick experimental report was placed. "I carefully studied your report on the theory of star elements, Mr. Chu Jiang," he said. "If this theory can achieve the effect you imagined, it will be a huge breakthrough. We need innovation and courage to promote the progress of science and technology, and the theory you proposed has exactly such characteristics." Chu Jiang's heart moved, and he felt the common ideas and goals with Volker. Chapter 115 Explaining the Theory of Star Elements. He said, "I am very honored to be recognized by you, Mr. Volker. I have high hopes for this theory and am willing to work hard to verify and improve it." Chu Jiang sat on the seat opposite Volker. With confidence, with a smile, he began to explain to him his theoretical understanding of star elements. He produced a beautiful chart and experimental data, and explained the feasibility and potential benefits of this theory in detail. Chu Jiang described his understanding of star element in vivid and clear language. Star element is a new type of energy with extremely high energy density and reproducibility. It comes from stars in the universe and can be produced through scientific and technological means. Collected and extracted, compared with traditional energy sources, star elements are not only more efficient, but also pollution-free and low energy consumption. In the future, it will completely change the energy structure of our society. Walker listened intently to Chu Jiang's explanation and stared at the charts and experimental data. Gradually, his brows furrowed, as if he was deep in thought. Chu Jiang could see that Volker was thinking about the feasibility of his theory. "Mr. Volker, please rest assured that we have conducted preliminary experiments and achieved encouraging results." Chu Jiang said, "If you are willing to give me a chance to conduct more further exploration and research, I believe we can jointly create an unprecedented energy miracle." Walker was speechless. His eyes revealed his admiration and expectation for Chu Jiang's theory. He took a deep breath. "Mr. Chu Jiang, your theory is indeed eye-catching." Volker said, "It contains infinite possibilities and breakthroughs. I very much look forward to seeing you push this theory to the extreme and achieve incredible developments in the field of science and technology." When Chu Jiang heard Walker's praise and support, he felt a huge encouragement and motivation in his heart. He knows that the future he pursues is no longer far away. Mubai stood quietly aside, silently observing the exchange between the two. He could feel Chu Jiang's enthusiasm and talent for science and technology, and he could also see Volker's recognition of this novel theory. Dong Wei stood aside quietly, silently observing the exchange between Chu Jiang and Mubai. Although he didn't understand what they were talking about specifically, Dong Wei could feel the power that might bring about change from the excitement and anticipation shining in their eyes. Please give me flowers. Chu Jiang and Mubai were talking about various scientific and technological details and experimental plans, and passionately discussed how to make breakthroughs in the next step. Dong Wei admired their tacit cooperation and rational thinking. Looking at the backs of the two people, Dong Wei made up his mind to work harder to learn technology so that he could understand and participate in the innovative work carried out by Chu Jiang and Mubai. 00. He hopes that he can also be one of the forces that change the world. Chu Jiang, Mubai, although I don't fully understand what you are discussing, I can see that you are full of confidence in the future. Dong Wei mustered up the courage to break the silence. Chu Jiang turned around, smiled and said to Dong Wei, Dong Wei, you are also a very important member of our team. Although your professional fields are different, your talents and contributions in other aspects are irreplaceable by us. Mubai nodded and agreed, yes, Dong Wei, we need a variety of talents to achieve innovation. Your understanding of human nature and psychology is also very valuable. Chapter 116 Revising and Optimizing Plans. Dong Wei felt the encouragement from the two of them, and a strong motivation surged in his heart. He decided to study harder and improve his knowledge and skills in the field of science and technology. Thank you for your encouragement. Dong Wei said with gratitude, I will work harder and hope that one day I can change the world with you. Chu Jiang and Mubai looked at each other, and both saw the 010 flash of affirmation in each other's eyes. Chu Jiang walked into the meeting room of the intellectual group happily. This room is bright and transparent, filled with advanced equipment and technological instruments. But soon, Chu Jiang discovered something was wrong. There was a tense atmosphere throughout the conference room. Many people gathered around and argued endlessly. They raised questions and doubts about Chu Jiang and Mubai's plan. Chu Jiang, are you sure we can succeed? An older member of the intellectual tribe asked, his face full of suspicion. Chu Jiang smiled softly, his eyes full of confidence. I understand your concerns, but we have conducted a lot of experiments and research and achieved encouraging results, and I believe we can solve the problems we are currently facing. Next, a middle-aged woman asked, but Chu Jiang, we don't have enough resources to support this plan. How can you ensure that we can proceed smoothly? Mubai answered unwaveringly, resources are indeed a challenge, but that doesn't mean we can't overcome it. We will continue to seek partners and financial support while optimizing our plans to ensure the maximum utilization of every resource. Seeing everyone's uneasiness and worry, Chu Jiang felt an extremely firm determination in his heart. We can change the world precisely because we are courageous about the unknown. I firmly believe that as long as we unite and trust each other, we can overcome problems. The members of the intellectual group present gradually calmed down after hearing Chu Jiang and Mubai's answers. They looked at the firm and confident eyes of Chu Jiang and Mubai and felt their deep enthusiasm and persistence. Chu Jiang sat quietly in the corner of the conference room, looking at the thick stack of documents on the table. He studied these documents carefully, pondering every detail and thinking about how to make the plan more complete and reliable. Mubai came over and saw Chu Jiang studying documents, so he sat down and waited. Chu Jiang, you look very busy. Chu Jiang raised his head and smiled, yeah, I'm re-examining our plan. This meeting made me realize that there are still many problems that need to be solved. Then what do you think? Mubai asked curiously. Chu Jiang thought for a moment and replied, first of all, we need more data to support our theory. I would like to contact some experts in the field to use their knowledge and experience to supplement the shortcomings in our plan. Mubai nodded, that's a good idea. What about other aspects? We also need to consider human resources issues. 4.3 Chu Jiang frowned slightly, although some volunteers have joined us now, to achieve our ambitious goals, we definitely need the support of more talents. Mubai said firmly, yes, we need to find suitable talents to join as soon as possible. However, we can also seek some partners in this regard to jointly promote the implementation of the plan. Chu Jiang nodded in agreement. Chapter 117 Facing Doubts from the Intellectual Community. Dong Wei felt the encouragement from the two of them, and a strong motivation surged in his heart. He decided to study harder and improve his knowledge and skills in the field of science and technology. "Thank you for your encouragement," Dongwei said with gratitude. "I will work harder and hope that one day I can change the world with you." Chu Jiang and Mubai looked at each other, and both saw the flash of affirmation in the other's eyes. Chu Jiang walked into the meeting room of the intellectual group happily. This room is bright and transparent, filled with advanced equipment and technological instruments. But soon, Chu Jiang discovered something was wrong. There was a tense atmosphere throughout the conference room. Many people gathered around and argued endlessly. They raised questions and doubts about Chu Jiang and Mubai's plan. "Chu Jiang, are you sure we can succeed?" An older member of the intellectual tribe asked, his face full of suspicion. Chu Jiang smiled softly, his eyes full of confidence. "I understand your concerns, but we have conducted a lot of experiments and research and achieved encouraging results, and I believe we can solve the problems we are currently facing." Next, a middle-aged woman asked, "But Chu Jiang, we don't have enough resources to support this plan. How can you ensure that we can proceed smoothly?" Mubai answered unwaveringly, "Resources are indeed a challenge, but that doesn't mean we can't overcome it. We will continue to seek partners and financial support while optimizing our plans to ensure the maximum utilization of every resource." Seeing everyone's uneasiness and worry, Chu Jiang felt an extremely firm determination in his heart. "We can change the world precisely because we are courageous about the unknown. I firmly believe that as long as we unite and trust each other, we can overcome problems." The members of the intellectual group present gradually calmed down after hearing Chu Jiang and Mubai's answers. They looked at the firm and confident eyes of Chu Jiang and Mubai and felt their deep enthusiasm and persistence. Chu Jiang sat quietly in the corner of the conference room, looking at the thick stack of documents on the table. He studied these documents carefully, pondering every detail and thinking about how to make the plan more complete and reliable. Mubai came over and saw Chu Jiang studying documents, so he sat down and waited. "Chu Jiang, you look very busy." Chu Jiang raised his head and smiled. "Yeah, I'm re-examining our plan. This meeting made me realize that there are still many problems that need to be solved." "Then what do you think?" Mubai asked curiously. Chu Jiang thought for a moment and replied, "First of all, we need more data to support our theory. I would like to contact 380 some experts in the field to use their knowledge and experience to supplement the deficiencies in our plan." Mubai nodded. "That's a good idea. What about other aspects?" "We also need to consider human resources issues." Chu Jiang frowned slightly. "Although some volunteers have joined us now, we definitely need the support of more talents to achieve our ambitious goals." Mubai said firmly, "Yes, we need to find suitable talents to join as soon as possible. However, we can also seek some partners in this regard to jointly promote the implementation of the plan." Chu Jiang nodded in agreement. Chapter 118 Finding the Translucent Crystal. Yes, we must dare to show our plans and conduct in-depth cooperation with other teams. Only through the combination of wisdom and strength of all parties can the plan be more perfect. The two continued to discuss every detail of the plan, and the exchange of opinions was full and energetic. They believed that only through continuous optimization and improvement day after day can they achieve the ultimate goal. Dongwei put down the tools in his hands and looked around. The atmosphere around the cave is fresh and pleasant, and the sun shines on the ground through the leaves, like a warm golden ocean. He took a deep breath, felt the gift of nature, and then stepped forward. As Dongwei walked, he used his keen perception to search for signs of the existence of star elements. He closed his eyes, relaxed his body and mind, and allowed himself to fully integrate into the environment. Suddenly, Dongwei felt a weak and familiar energy fluctuation. He stopped and searched intently. After some hard work, he successfully found the source of the energy fluctuations, a seemingly ordinary but shimmering stone hidden in the bushes. "This is it!" Dongwei shouted with excitement. He carefully removed the stone and looked closely. From the information, we learned that this mysterious substance called star element can provide powerful energy for technological innovation, and now Dongwei finally saw it with his own eyes. Dongwei quickly returned to the village and began to ask the surrounding residents for information about Xingchensu. +_Q_G%. Some people were skeptical and thought it was just a legend, while others were encouraging and supportive, providing some clues and suggestions. He firmly believes that Xingchensu must be real. He knew how important this discovery was to the development of science and technology, so he decided to continue searching and bring this information back to Chu Jiang and Mubai. Dongwei carefully took out the translucent crystal and observed it carefully. This crystal emits a faint and magical light, like a beautiful gemstone. Dongwei felt filled with curiosity and excitement. He picked up the crystal and lightly touched its surface with his fingers. Suddenly, a warm energy spread through his fingers, making him feel an unprecedented excitement. After seeing this scene, Mubai couldn't help but walked over and asked, "Dongwei, what kind of magical thing is this? Why does it glow?" Dongwei smiled and handed the crystal to Mubai. "This is the translucent crystal I found in the cave. It seems to contain some kind of special energy." Mubai took the crystal and looked at it carefully. "It looks like an ordinary stone. How can it have special energy? I'm not sure exactly what energy it is, but it should feel similar to star element." Dongwei thought for a moment and then replied. The surrounding residents gathered around and curiously asked about the nature of the crystal. They were attracted by the shimmer emitted by the crystal and were excited about Dongwei's discovery. "Zhao Zhao's, this crystal looks like an unknown gemstone." One villager said, "Maybe it can help us solve some problems in life." "Yes, if this crystal does have special energy, we may be able to use it to improve our technological facilities," echoed another. Everyone is looking forward to further studying this crystal. Dongwei looked at the crowd of people around him and showed a proud and satisfied smile. Chapter 119 Strange Psychic Abilities. Since everyone is interested in this crystal, let's study it together, Dongwei encouraged. Maybe it can actually bring us new technological breakthroughs. Everyone nodded in agreement and decided to set up a laboratory in the village to conduct more in-depth research. Chu Jiang held a transparent crystal and stared at it intently. He could feel the faint energy emanating from the crystal, as if it was a mysterious magic power. Suddenly, he remembered his previous exchange with Walker. Walker is a legendary wise man who is said to have psychic abilities and can communicate with other dimensions. This made Chu Jiang curious. He decided to ask Volker about this space. After all, he needed to know more about the crystal before he could study it. Chu Jiang walked towards the center of the village and stopped in front of a spacious and ancient building. This is where Walker usually lives and thinks about problems. Opening the door, Chu Jiang walked into a room filled with dust and piles of books. Under the dim light, he saw Walker sitting at the table with his eyes closed and concentrating. "Mr. Walker, can I ask you a question?" Chu Jiang asked softly. Walker opened his eyes and smiled slightly. "Of course, you are the one who brought the crystal to Dongwei, right? I guess you are interested in this space." Chu Jiang nodded. "Yes, I would like to ask you some questions about this space." Walker put his palms on the table, looked at Chu Jiang, and said slowly, "This space is a mysterious and dangerous place, where you will face unknowns and challenges." A trace of curiosity flashed in Chu Jiang's eyes. "Excuse me, is there anything special in that space?" Walker took a deep breath and said solemnly, "In that space, there is psychic ability, which means you can communicate with other fields, but be careful, because psychics are not easy to control." Hearing this, Chu Jiang felt endless curiosity in his heart. He imagined that he could enter that mysterious space and communicate with other realms. Dodge. "Mr. Walker, can you tell me how to enter that space?" Chu Jiang asked impatiently. Walker smiled and shook his head. "Unfortunately, I can't tell you the specific method. Everyone has their own unique way, and you have to find it yourself." Chu Jiang pondered for a moment, and then nodded. "Thank you for your guidance, Mr. Walker. I will continue to work hard." Chu Jiang fell into deep thinking. He began to wonder if psychic abilities were related to the tech tree. If he can master psychic abilities, does that mean he can understand higher-level technologies? He imagined that he could enter that mysterious space, communicate with other fields, and obtain more profound scientific and technological knowledge. In this way, he will no longer be bound by existing limitations and can explore a wider and unknown world. Walker saw that Chu Jiang was thinking a lot, so he smiled and said, "Mr. Chu Jiang, have you become interested in the connection between psychic abilities and the technology tree?" Chu Jiang nodded. "Yes, Mr. Walker, I would like to know if it is possible to understand and master higher-level technologies through psychic abilities." Walker stared at Chu Jiang quietly for a moment, and then said slowly, "Psychics and technology can indeed influence each other to some extent. Psychics can open up a new perspective, allowing you to observe problems from different angles and inspire creative thinking. Hearing this, Chu Jiang felt hot in his heart. Chapter 120 Looking for Higher-Level Technology. He begins to realize that psychic abilities may be the key to his further exploration of the world of technology. So, Mr. Walker, do you have any suggestions? Chu Jiang asked impatiently. Walker smiled and nodded. First of all, you need to cultivate your concentration and willpower. Channeling ability requires strong mind control. Secondly, you also need to find a channeling method that suits you. Each one has its own unique way of communicating with other fields. Chu Jiang listened with great interest, and his thoughts were spinning rapidly. Chu Jiang returned to his laboratory with excitement, and he decided to immediately start researching the specific application methods of psychic abilities. The scattered books and equipment in the laboratory show Chu Jiang's endless enthusiasm for technology, and now, psychic ability has become the key to his exploration of higher-level technology. Chu Jiang picked up an ancient book, which was full of mysterious symbols and spells. He read each page carefully, trying to understand the secrets hidden within. A few hours passed, and he did not find a specific method that could be directly applied to the field of science and technology. Just when Chu Jiang was a little confused, Mubai came to his laboratory. When Mubai saw Chu Jiang's tired look, he asked, "Chu Jiang, what are you studying?" "Approaching psychic abilities to find ways to higher-level technology." "Are there any new discoveries?" Chu Jiang smiled bitterly and shook his head. "I haven't found an accurate and feasible method yet. What is written in the book is only some basic concepts and theories, and it does not tell me how to use this knowledge collectively." Mubai thought for a moment and said, "Perhaps you can ask Mr. Walker for advice. As an authority on psychic abilities, he will definitely have more insights." Chu Jiang nodded in agreement. They then set off for Volker's office. When they arrived, Walker was training a group of young people in the use of psychic abilities. Walker saw Chu Jiang coming and greeted him with a smile. "Mr. Chu Jiang, what do you want from me again?" Walker asked. Chu Jiang said respectfully, "Mr. Walker, I have studied a lot of theoretical knowledge about psychic abilities, but I have not yet found a method that can be applied in the field of science and technology. Do you have any suggestions? Please give me flowers." Walker thought for a moment, and then said slowly, "When studying psychic abilities, you need to fully devote your mind and body to it, and try meditation to achieve a state of calm and concentration. Only in this state can you truly feel the connection between channeling and other realms." Chu Jiang listened to Walker's words and silently thought about how to improve his psychic abilities. Mubai and Chu Jiang both looked at Walker, expecting his response. Walker's eyes flashed with fiery light, and he took a deep breath, endless passion surging in his heart. This controllable nuclear fusion theory would completely change the scientific and technological world, and he couldn't help but have a strong curiosity about it. "Chu Jiang, your discovery is simply amazing. This connection between psychic abilities and technology is going to be a huge revelation, and I'm very grateful to you for sharing this discovery with us," Walker said excitedly. Chu Jiang smiled and nodded. "Professor Walker, thank you. I just accidentally discovered some clues and further understood the mystery in a meditative state." Chapter 122 Chu Jiang faces a choice. Chu Jiang's heart was surging and he looked at Walker in disbelief. "Can you really do it?" he asked expectantly. Walker took a deep breath and replied with firm eyes, "Of course. I have been studying it for a long time, but I have been lacking a suitable theory to guide me. Now with your theory as a basis, I believe we can succeed." On the other side, Ionia frowned slightly when she heard this. She understood that Volker had shown great strength, and she could see that he recognized Chu Jiang's theory as much as she did. In order to prevent Walker from getting Chu Jiang, she must take action immediately. Ionia said with a smile, "Volk, your experimental device is indeed very attractive, but I believe that the best scientists in the intellectual community will better provide help to Chu Jiang." Ionia's words made Walker frown slightly. He answered confidently, "Ionia, I know there has always been a competitive relationship between us, but you don't need to worry, I can give Chu Jiang all the support and resources he needs." A trace of determination flashed in Ionia's eyes. "Then let's have a test." She turned around and left the laboratory. As she left, the entire space became quiet. Chu Jiang stood in the laboratory, staring at Volk and Ionia, hesitating in his heart. "Law. On one side are the ready-made experimental devices and resources provided by Voke, and on the other side are the support and help of the intellectual community represented by Ionia. He knew he had to make a hard choice. Volker looked at Chu Jiang, his smile still bright. Chu Jiang, I will provide you with the best support to verify your theory. We pursue scientific progress together, and I believe we can work well together. Ionia said without showing any signs of weakness. Chu Jiang, you are one of the most dazzling stars in the intellectual community. We have countless outstanding scientists willing to provide help and guidance to you. Rather than letting one person be responsible for everything, it is better to leverage the power of the collective. Chu Jiang felt that both camps were full of expectations and attention for him. He fell into deep thought. This is an important decision, related to his choice of future path and the development of controllable nuclear fusion theory. In order to seek more information and opinions, Chu Jiang actively began to have in-depth exchanges and discussions with Volker and Ionia in his conflicting mood. Mr. Volker, I am very grateful for your support and the opportunities you have provided me. The experimental equipment and resources you mentioned are indeed very attractive and make me feel extremely tempted. But I also understand that the intellectual community represented by Ionia has strong wisdom and collective power. I used to be an independent explorer, but now I have begun to realize that there are limits to what an individual can do. Chu Jiang expressed his thoughts candidly. Volker smiled slightly. Chu 990 Jiang, you are such a smart young man. The cooperative team can bring a broader development space for scientific research, but please remember that you can only do it if you truly believe in the theory and go all out. Only when you pursue it can you achieve results. Ionia stood aside and listened silently to the conversation between Chu Jiang and Walker. She understands the powerful advantages of collective strength. Chu Jiang, don't forget that we also have a strong and diverse resource network. We can share knowledge with you and explore unknown areas of science together. Chu Jiang felt the care and expectations of the two mentors, and he knew he needed to make a decision. Chapter 123. The discussion becomes more intense. This decision will determine his future path and will also affect the development of his beloved controllable nuclear fusion theory. Mubai blinked and asked thoughtfully, Chu Jiang, can you explain the specifics of Xingqian Su? What is it? I don't quite understand the concept yet. Chu Jiang put down the sphere in his hand and answered with a smile, Star Prime is a mysterious substance. It is said that it contains the energy and wisdom of the universe. Legend has it that as long as you master the mystery of Star Prime, you can use it to create unlimited creations possible. Dongwei was fascinated by what he heard and asked curiously, then how do you get the star element? Chu Jiang looked at everyone's gaze and explained seriously, there is indeed not much information about Xingqian Su at present, but we have dug up some clues. According to ancient records and myths and legends, Xingqian Su is scattered all over the world, and is related to the mysterious Lumen Forest. Mubai raised his eyebrows, Lumen Forest. Is this the forest we are in now? That's right. Chu Jiang nodded in affirmation. According to ancient books, there is a certain energy field hidden in the Lumen Forest, and there is a subtle resonance with the star element. If we can further study the Lumen Forest, there may be more discover. Hearing this, Dong Wei couldn't help but interjected, I once felt a strange energy fluctuation in the Lumen Forest. Is it related to this? Chu Jiang looked at Dong Wei with piercing eyes. The energy fluctuation you felt in the Lumen Forest is probably related to the star element. If we can find the source, we may be able to unlock the star element mystery. Mubai and Dongwei were both deeply attracted by what Chu Jiang said, and they began to discuss it imaginatively. In the Wisdom Forest, Japanese people exchanged ideas and speculations energetically. They speculated that perhaps the wisdom tree in the Lumen Forest was one of the keys to the existence of the star element. Perhaps the wisdom tree somehow absorbed the energy of the star element and emitted it through its roots. It is also possible that star element is a kind of tiny particle hidden in nature, which will only be revealed under certain conditions. In this speculation and conjecture, their discussion became more and more intense. In order to verify his theory, Chu Jiang decided to personally enter the Lumen Forest for field investigation. Chu Jiang felt the focus of many eyes and answered all questions calmly with a smile. His language is precise and concise, allowing onlookers to understand the complex theories he describes in the first place. When a technology group leader raised a question about the relationship between star element and human evolution, Chu Jiang instantly catered to the topic. In my understanding, star element not only contains the energy and wisdom of the universe, but also has characteristics closely related to human evolution. His eyes flashed, and there was a hint of excitement in his tone. Li's, just like DNA as we know it is the basis of the genetic information of living organisms, star element may also be the catalyst for the sublimation of human wisdom and soul. The leaders of the technology group were fascinated and nodded in agreement. They began to realize that star element is not only a material existence, but also a spiritual power deeply related to human beings. They are eager to further explore this mysterious substance and apply it in scientific and technological innovation. Chapter 124 Amazing. Mubai looked at Chu Jiang with sharp eyes. Then what is the connection between star element and the tree of wisdom? Chu Jiang answered with a smile. As a special existence in the lumen forest, the wisdom tree may be one of the carriers of the star element. They grow in the lumen forest because they can absorb the energy of the star element and transform it into wisdom and insight. Dongwei couldn't help but interject, then how can we find these wisdom trees? A trace of thought flashed across Chu Jiang's eyebrows. According to ancient books, the wisdom tree will hide in the depths of the lumen forest and only reveal itself to those who truly want to worship. He stared at everyone through the thick lens of the data telemeter. I believe that as long as we have an attitude of awe and a 080 desire for true knowledge, it will be possible to find these sacred beings. Everyone was fascinated and agreed with what Chu Jiang said. They began to discuss how to further study the lumen forest, search for the wisdom tree, and finally unlock the mystery of the star element. The leaders of the technology group present stood up one after another and applauded warmly to express their appreciation and admiration for Chu Jiang. They asked him questions or sought opportunities to work together, making no secret of their admiration for his talent. Chu Jiang accepted everyone's praise with a smile, and modestly stated that this was just his personal understanding and guess, BDFJ, and hoped that by exploring together with scientific and technological leaders, star element can bring a more brilliant future to mankind. Mubai and Dongwei looked at Chu Jiang with a hint of admiration and relief in their eyes. They were impressed and felt that they were lucky to be able to work with and make friends with such outstanding people. Especially Mubai, as a veteran who has been in the technology industry for many years, he rarely meets a young and talented person like Chu Jiang. Brother Chu Jiang, you are so awesome. Your answer made my eyes light up. Mubai excitedly patted Chu Jiang on the shoulder and said, we must work together to find out the secret of Xingqian Su. This will be a huge breakthrough in the history of science and technology. Chu Jiang smiled slightly and did not hide his inner joy. Of course, Mubai, we can form a special team to study Xingqian Su and explore its application in technological innovation. I believe we can make something that will amaze mankind. Achievements. Dongwei also interjected, Brother Chu Jiang is right. This is an important and mysterious field for human beings. We have the responsibility to explore it. I am willing to fully support you. The interaction between Mubai and Dongwei made the leaders of the technology group present identify more with Chu Jiang and expressed that they would do their best to provide support and help. At this time, the atmosphere in the conference hall became extremely warm and exciting. A hint of understanding flashed in Dongwei's eyes. He began to conceive a grand picture of the future in his mind, a world full of opportunities and infinite possibilities. Brother Chu Jiang, if we can successfully apply Xingqian Su to real life, can we really change the doomsday situation? Dongwei asked with interest. Chu Jiang smiled slightly, with deep confidence in his eyes. Old friend Dongwei, although Xingqian Su is a mysterious and complex technology, I believe it has huge potential, and we can use it to develop new sources of energy, improving the environment, promoting medical technology advancement, etc., as long as we work hard enough and get the support and cooperation of scientific and technological leaders. I believe we can create a more prosperous, harmonious, and better future. Chapter 125 Possibility of Plan. Mubai also agreed with this. Brother Dongwei, you are right. Star Su is not only a technological breakthrough, but also a symbol of renewed vitality and hope for mankind. Our efforts will bring benefits to the entire world. Come to a turning point and let us get out of the haze of doomsday again. Listening to the words of the two people, Dongwei felt a surge of enthusiasm and ambition in his heart. They no longer work alone, but form an extremely united and energetic team to jointly explore unknown areas of science and technology. The atmosphere in the conference room became tense and full of expectations. Leaders of other technology groups have exchanged their views and expectations on the application fields of Xingqiansu and are full of confidence in this big plan. Chu Jiang felt extremely relieved when he looked at all this. He is fully aware that he has a heavy responsibility, but he is also determined to live up to everyone's expectations of him. Dear science and technology leaders, I plan to set up a team specializing in the application field of Xingqiansu in the next time. I hope that everyone can join together and give full play to their respective advantages and wisdom to bring positive and lasting benefits to the world. Changes. After hearing Chu Jiang's words, everyone nodded in support. They were all eager to personally participate in this great plan. Chu Jiang stood in the center of the conference room, surrounded by silence. The leaders of the technology group looked at him, expecting to see his answer. A technology leader asked, "Mr. Chu Jiang, as far as we know, the production capacity of Xingqiansu is limited. If it is applied on a large scale in real life, will it cause resource inequality and energy shortage problems?" Chu Jiang smiled slightly. He walked towards the blackboard and turned to face everyone. "Dear leaders, thank you very much for your attention and doubts about the Xingqiansu technology. Indeed, at the current stage, the production capacity of Xingqiansu cannot meet the demand for large-scale use." He paused, "But I believe that with our united efforts, this problem is not unsolvable." The conference room fell silent again. Chu Jiang picked up the chalk and drew a perfect and complex figure on the blackboard. "First of all, we can greatly increase the production capacity of Xingqiansu by improving its manufacturing process." Pointing to the graphics, he explained, "At the same time, through continuous research and innovation, we can find alternative energy sources or ways to use energy more efficiently in other aspects. Please give me flowers." A leader asked, "Does Xingqiansu have safety hazards? How can we ensure that no danger will occur during use?" Chu Jiang answered with a smile, "Superstar Su is indeed a potentially risky technology, but we will take a series of strict safety measures to ensure the safety of the use process. 00. For example, we will establish a complete monitoring system to avoid overloading or leaking Xingqiansu. In addition, we will also formulate detailed emergency plans and conduct simulation drills to respond to any possible risks in advance." As each question was answered, the atmosphere in the conference room gradually became lively. Leaders of the technology group began to actively participate in the discussion. Chu Jiang showed his wisdom and courage. He could successfully answer every question and even provide theoretical corrections and optimization plans for the doubts they pointed out. This made the leaders of the technology group very satisfied with him, and decided to conduct more in-depth research on his controllable nuclear fusion theory. Chapter 126 Discussing Theories with Technology Groups. Chu Jiang looked at this scene, and his heart was filled with satisfaction and hope. Chu Jiang stood in the center of the conference room, with a screen behind him flashing various experimental data and charts. His voice was clear and confident. "Based on my research, I believe we can achieve controllable nuclear fusion." The leaders of the technology group surrounded Chu Jiang with great interest, staring intently at the data on the screen. "Are you saying that we can achieve controllable nuclear fusion by controlling the temperature, pressure, and magnetic field in the 053 nuclear fusion process?" a scientist asked. Chu Jiang nodded, "Yes, if we can find a suitable way to adjust these factors, we can release more energy stably." Another technology group leader followed up, "This theory sounds great, but controllable nuclear fusion requires huge energy input and complex equipment. Have you considered these issues?" Chu Jiang replied with a smile, "Of course I have considered it. My idea is to use advanced materials and optimized design to reduce energy loss and improve equipment efficiency through intelligent control systems. In addition, I also plan to use star element as a catalyst to improve reaction speed." The leaders of the technology group fell into deep thought and began their own discussions. Various opinions and ideas are constantly bursting out, and everyone inspires and complements each other's ideas. We can try to use more advanced material alloys to build the reactor walls to improve the ability to withstand high temperatures and radioactivity. An engineer suggested. If we can successfully achieve controllable nuclear fusion, it will be a technological revolution. A leader of a science and technology group said excitedly, "We can solve major problems such as energy crisis and environmental pollution." Chu Jiang felt happy and proud that he saw that his theory had attracted attention and interest from the scientific and technological community. I believe that as long as we work together, we can realize the dream of controllable nuclear fusion. He encouraged. The conference room was filled with a tense and warm atmosphere. Everyone began to think about how to translate this theory into practical actions, and exciting future scenarios emerged in their minds. Dongwei put the translucent crystal under the microscope, and he carefully observed the crystal. Structure of the crystal. The unit cell structure of this crystal is very interesting. It looks different from the materials we have seen before. He whispered to himself. The scientists gathered around and stared intently at the crystals in the microscope. I observed some peculiar properties. Dongwei said, this crystal seems to be able to respond to external energy and convert it into internal energy. You mean it has the ability to recharge itself? Chu Jiang asked. Dongwei nodded, yes, this looks amazing. If we can study and utilize this characteristic in depth, we may be able to make it an important part of controllable nuclear fusion experiments. Other scientists agree. If we can find a suitable way to apply this self-charging feature to the reactor walls and other key components, it will greatly improve the performance of the equipment, said a physicist. Chu Jiang was very excited. We may be able to regulate the temperature and pressure during nuclear fusion by controlling how energy is stored and released in crystals. He came up with a new idea. Chapter 127 Volker Research Chu Jiang Theory. Dongwei continued to observe the crystal and look for clues from the data. I also found that this crystal will vibrate slightly when it is stimulated by external energy, which may be related to the magnetic field in the reactor, he said. Scientists immediately launched into heated discussions, trying to understand the physical mechanisms behind these findings. They deliberated, asked questions, and constantly proposed new experimental designs. If we can use this vibration to control the rate at which energy is stored and released in the crystal, we may be able to further improve the efficiency of nuclear fusion, suggested a chemist. Dongwei fully affirmed and appreciated the scientists' views and research results. You have come up with many innovative and promising ideas that we can integrate into equipment design and control systems to realize the dream of controlled nuclear fusion. The meeting room was filled with heated discussions and mutual inspiration. Everyone was involved, thinking about how to make the most of the properties of this translucent crystal. They excitedly imagined the future technological revolution, unlimited energy, and clean environment. The lights in Volk's laboratory were dim and gentle, and the sounds of various instruments were intertwined. Volk sat in front of the experimental table, the data in his hands flashing with complex charts and figures. He frowned, thinking about how to apply the theory proposed by Chu Jiang to solve the problems of existing nuclear fusion solutions. If we can use this crystal to control the rate of energy release, we may be able to solve problems such as excessive reactor temperature and out-of-control pressure, Walker said to himself. Other leaders of the tech community gathered around Volker, eyeing his lab expectantly. Seeing Walker's serious expression, they all felt a glimmer of hope and expectation. By embedding this crystal into the reactor wall and using the vibrations it generates to regulate the rate of energy release, we may be able to avoid runaway temperature and pressure during nuclear fusion, Walker explained. That sounds promising, a physicist said excitedly. If it can be successfully implemented, it will not only improve the efficiency of nuclear fusion, but also reduce the risks of reactor operation. I agree, a chemist added. In addition, this technology is expected to extend the service life of the reactor. Walker took a deep breath and sorted out the data in his hands. Walker finally found the problem. He carefully studied the theory proposed by Chu Jiang and observed the data in the laboratory. As he explored further, he discovered that Chu Jiang's theory could not only solve the flaws in existing nuclear fusion solutions, but also be more complete than them. This is amazing. Walker stood up excitedly and quickly recorded his findings. He began to sort out a new feasible plan, and his heart was filled with confidence and hope. Leaders of other technology groups found it difficult to keep calm when they saw Volker's excitement and approached him one after another. Walker, what did you find? Yes, tell us quickly. Volker explained with confidence. I found that the theory proposed by Chu Jiang can embed crystals into the reactor wall and use the vibrations it generates to adjust the energy release rate to avoid runaway temperature and pressure during nuclear fusion. This is really great, a physicist said excitedly. If it can be successfully implemented, it will not only improve the efficiency of nuclear fusion, but also reduce the risks of reactor operation. Chapter 128 The technological innovation brought about by. Yes, in addition, this technology is also expected to extend the service life of the reactor. A chemist added. Leaders of other technology groups were attracted by Volker's research and began discussing how to further improve this new plan. They excitedly made suggestions and had lively discussions. Mubai and Dongwei also joined the discussion. As friends of Chu Jiang, they have long been confident in Jiang's theory. They brought some inspiring ideas and made some suggestions, hoping to add more innovation and practicality to this new solution. The entire research room was filled with passion and anticipation. Walker watched his colleagues actively participate in the discussion, and he felt extremely proud and satisfied. This new plan will bring a huge breakthrough in nuclear fusion technology and bring huge benefits to human society. Volker passionately introduced the new plan he had compiled to everyone present. The record book in his hand was full of dense data and data chart. He pointed to a diagram in his notebook and explained in detail the huge advantages of crystals embedded in the reactor wall. Look, this is the energy release curve corresponding to the theory proposed by Chu Jiang. Volker said excitedly, we can precisely control the energy release rate by adjusting the crystal vibration frequency and intensity to avoid damage to the reactor caused by excessive temperature and pressure. A physicist couldn't wait to interrupt Volker. This theory is great. If we can successfully implement it, it will completely change the situation where the temperature is unstable and the pressure increases suddenly during the operation of the existing nuclear fusion technology, leading to runaway control. Yes. A chemist agreed, and this technology is also expected to extend the life of the reactor and reduce maintenance costs. The leaders of the science and technology group listened with great interest, expressed their agreement and made suggestions one after another. During the meeting, they discussed how to improve Chu Jiang's theory and apply it to practice. Dongwei frowned slightly, thought for a moment and then said, I think we need to further study the material selection and vibration frequency of the crystal to ensure its stability and reliability. Mubai added, for the crystal embedding solution, we need to test crystals of different shapes and thicknesses to find the most suitable one. In addition, we can learn from the experience of sonic technology in terms of vibration frequency adjustment. The leaders of the science and technology group deeply agreed with Mubai and Dongwei's suggestions and nodded in agreement. They excitedly began planning their next experiments. Mubai and Dongwei's suggestions were approved by everyone. The leaders of the technology group excitedly began to plan the next experiments and tests. There was an atmosphere of tension and anticipation in the conference room. However, just as everyone was discussing heatedly, a low voice suddenly came, Chu Jiang's theory is nonsense. It is not worth wasting our time and resources to study. Everyone looked at the voice in shock. Source, Lees. Burdage, a weather-beaten old man, has been quietly observing the entire discussion from behind. He was wearing a simple black robe and holding a cane in his hand. His old face with deep wrinkles was full of disdain and ridicule. Volker frowned and said coldly, Mr. Bertacci, please don't jump to conclusions about Chu Jiang's theory. He has sufficient theoretical basis and experimental data to support it. Chapter 129 Deadlock. Burdage sneered, theoretical basis. Experimental data. What's the use of these things? Chu Jiang is just a young technology fan. He doesn't understand the complexity of this field at all. Don't be fooled by his fantasy. Baffled by theory. Ionia's face darkened and she said calmly, Mr. Bertacci, please treat everyone's opinions and theories objectively. We all have the right to explore and try new technological breakthroughs. Burdage waved his hand impatiently, you young people will only chase vain ideas and don't know how to seek truth from facts. This so-called crystal embedding solution will only cause unnecessary waste and failure. Chu Jiang looked at Burdage, thinking in his heart the flames began to burn. He felt that his theory had been belittled and denied, which made him feel extremely unfair. Mubai and Dongwei also noticed Chu Jiang's unhappiness, and they silently supported him. Mubai stood up and said in a calm and powerful voice, Mr. Bertacci, you have not given Chu Jiang's theory a reasonable evaluation and evidence. We are pursuing scientific and technological progress and breakthroughs. Have you regressed to stagnation, era? Dongwei added, every technological development requires exploring the unknown and transcending existing limits. We believe Chu Jiang can open up new fields and bring amazing results. After hearing what the two said, Burdage did not respond, but frowned in silence. There was an atmosphere of tension and anticipation in the conference room. Amid the opposing gazes of many leaders of the scientific and technological groups, Chu Jiang clenched his fists hesitantly. Suddenly, a young woman stood up. Her face is filled with confidence and determination, and her hair in a ponytail is swaying in the wind. Mr. Bertacci, you have been criticizing Chu Jiang's theory, but I have to say that you are wrong. Her voice was sonorous and powerful. The crystal embedding solution proposed by Chu Jiang is a huge breakthrough in the field of science and technology. We cannot give up exploration because of fear of the unknown. Burdage snorted and said sarcastically, young people, you always want to change everything, but you don't understand that change requires enough time and patience. This so-called breakthrough will only bring destruction. Mr. Bertacci, please give us, today, some evidence and scientific basis to refute Chu Jiang's theory. Dongwei said calmly. The conference room was in a deadlock, with representatives from all parties opposing each other. The debate was fierce, and the atmosphere was tense. Chu Jiang's mood never calmed down. He felt angry and helpless at Bertacci's denial. However, he did not give up. On the contrary, he believed in his theory even more firmly. In order to prove his point, he decided to demonstrate his controllable nuclear fusion theory through a video at the Galaxy Heart Research Center. In the conference room, the research team of the Galaxy Heart Research Center played this video in the name of Chu Jiang. On the screen is a huge technology laboratory filled with various instruments and equipment. Chu Jiang appears in the center of the picture, smiling and clearly explaining his ideas about the theory of controllable nuclear fusion. Every audience was attracted by the passion contained in his words. In the video, you can see that the audience listened attentively. Mr. Burdage and fellow representatives, please bear with me and listen to my speech. Chu Jiang said, my theory of controllable nuclear fusion is not a guess or a delusion, it is based on my years of continuous exploration and practice in the field of science and technology. Chu Jiang's voice in the picture is clear and powerful. Chapter 130 Video Explanation. In my theory, we can use the special properties of crystals as a medium for nuclear fusion reactions to achieve controllable nuclear fusion energy. Chu Jiang continued his explanation. Through careful design and technological innovation, we can embed fields with specific energy frequencies in crystals so that nuclear fusion reactions can be realized in a controlled environment. The audience in the video watched in shock every word Chu Jiang said on the screen. They were gradually convinced by Chu Jiang and began to seriously consider the huge potential brought by this theory. There was an atmosphere of tension and anticipation in the conference room. Representatives from all parties watched the video with concentration. Some people nodded in agreement, and some frowned to express doubts. In the conference room, Chu Jiang's voice echoed on the screen. Through careful design and technological innovation, we can embed a field with a specific energy frequency in the crystal. In this way, the nuclear fusion reaction can be done in a controlled environment. The audience in the video watched in shock every word Chu Jiang said on the screen. They were gradually convinced by Chu Jiang and began to seriously consider the huge potential brought by this theory. The crowd in the square was originally quiet, but now they became excited. Someone was discussing around the screen, this theory is incredible. If controllable nuclear fusion can be truly realized, it will completely change the world structure. I have full confidence in Chu Jiang. Burdage sat in the conference room and frowned. He was angry about his fight with Chu Jiang, and he did not believe that Chu Jiang's theory could succeed. However, after seeing the scientific data and experimental images in the video, he began to feel conflicted inside. Dongwei stood up. I think the theory proposed by Chu Jiang is very potential, promising, and possible to be realized, and we should be open to his ideas. Mubai also nodded in agreement. Yes, I think what Chu Jiang said makes sense. His in-depth research, bold innovation, and practical summary in the field of science and technology are worthy of our trust and support. Other participants also began to speak enthusiastically, expressing their recognition and encouragement of Chu Jiang's theory. There was an atmosphere of tension and anticipation in the conference room. On the screen, the video continues to play. Please give me flowers. Chu Jiang showed more detailed experimental data and images, demonstrating that his theory can effectively control issues such as high temperatures generated during nuclear fusion reactions. The audience listened attentively, fascinated by this unprecedented theory that was full of potential and innovation. Everyone began to actively think about how to further explore and practice this amazing scientific field. In the conference room, Chu Jiang stood up and looked at the audience on the projection screen, looking at him intently. He took a deep breath and began to explain his theory. Through careful design and technological innovation, we can embed fields with specific energy frequencies in crystals, so that nuclear fusion reactions can be achieved in a controlled environment. Chu Jiang explained his theory in detail to everyone in clear and fluent language. He pointed out that the current inability to effectively control high-temperature problems in nuclear fusion reactions is because traditional methods do not take into account the impact of the energy field on the reaction process. His theory is to control the temperature during the nuclear fusion reaction by embedding an energy field in the crystal and keep it within a controllable range.